Alright, so we'll call to order the first part of our meeting, which will be the Liquor Control Board. And our first item is going to be public comment for items not on the agenda.
For the liquor control.
For the
liquor control.
Board,
Oh.
yeah.
I know you were waiting for the main show,
Yeah,
George, so,
yeah.
yeah.
So moving on, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda for the Liquor Control Board.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. And move on to our item of business, which is a liquor license renewal for Bob's In-N-Out.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion required, Trevor?
Nope, it's just a renewal,
Just standard.
standard renewal, yep, second class license, so that's retail sales.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Yeah, okay.
There's only 3 of us who want a job.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's been a long day already. Aye, motion. I'm sure. Oh my gosh. Opposed to adjourning? Not hearing any. We are adjourned. We'll call to order the regular meeting. Now we can have public comment for things not on the agenda for our regular meeting.
Go ahead.
Okay, Tamara Morgan, East Randolph. It was brought to my attention that Scott and Trini spoke to the Committee of Government Operations. I can't remember when it was, maybe a week ago. And it seemed like she was presenting for the town, like she was representing the town. And I just had some concerns about, or questions about, are there certain projects that she's continuing to represent from her time on the board? Kind of how is that working? She seemed to, I think she actually said she was representing Randolph, but I'm not sure in what capacity. And I just want to make sure that, I want to understand how that happens, if there are other projects that are ongoing that she's taking care of. And also kind of in conjunction with that, one meeting a month, I know, an incredibly long meeting, is not enough time to get everything done. So I'm just wondering about the process of actually,
That's on our agenda.
oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't realize
That's
that.
okay.
And then I wanted to be sure that this is the second question, to be sure that the library budget comes up for a vote before fiscal year 27 starts, so that it is the budget, the new budget that goes forward for fiscal year 27. And that's,
Yeah. Would it be appropriate for us to talk a bit about where the pension bill is out during the manager's report?
Sure.
Other items for public comment?
Yeah, George Daniel, Randolph Center. I came down before last fall about something, and I've never heard anything more about it, so I'm reiterating some of my concerns, and hopefully this board with the new blood or whatever can act on things, because I haven't been impressed so far about how things are going. And I'm a firm believer, make a decision, right, wrong, I don't care, but make a decision and roll on. So having said that, I came down here before and mentioned about what I thought about us supplying volunteer firemen to go out there for Gifford to play road guard so they could land a Dart helicopter. I don't care if we do that, but the town needs to be compensated for that. It's a volunteer department. If it was a full-time department, I'm good with that. But I don't think that this town, 20 times last year, I guess we supported it, that we should be doing a freebie for that. And I'll reiterate it again. If I have a heart attack, the ambulance comes up, picks me up, my insurance company pays for that ambulance, they take me down to Gifford, they take me to the emergency room, they give me an aspirin, I get charged for that. Helicopter shows up, I get charged for that. Why that we seem to think it's okay for this town to basically do this for free when we're charging Braintree for fire services, So it has a value. So Gifford could either get their own little rent-a-cops in there, go to flagging school, put 3 of them out there and do their own stuff, or pay this town and compensate them for having our people go out there. I don't know why this is such a difficult thing, but for some reason this goes on a back burner. So I'd like that to be addressed. Second one, years ago we gave up a bunch of roads. We still have a bunch of outstanding ones that need to be given up. I mentioned this last fall. Oh, we can't do it, whatever reason, we go through the winter and stuff, town plowing and everything, and we play this game about, oh, they have a dry hydrant and stuff. I don't care. There's a bunch of people on my mail route that I used to deliver to that had dry hydrants and we weren't plowing their driveway. So I don't understand that. And why I say I don't understand it, this town will put out a thing saying, oh, we can't maintain clearing out the fire hydrants and stuff. If the community would get out there and shovel them out, please do so. So they got out and do it. I clean out 6 or 7 fire hydrants up in Randolph Center. So I don't know why, just because you have a dry hydrant on your thing, which is for the benefit of you originally, that we're providing all this for it. And that comes to the point where you're actually competing with snowplow people in the private sector, because either that individual would take care of their own driveway or they would hire somebody out to take care of that driveway. So I don't believe that we should be in the process of subsidizing. So the road foreman knows what these things are. I've got all the stuff from last time when we played this game. So I would like that to be addressed way before the winter time and stuff. Now coming around to this library. I've been watching and reading it. I'm kind of indifferent about it in respect to this. Your head librarian's been down there, I guess, for 20 years, bless her heart. This is not something that just happened overnight as far as the leaking and stuff. This goes back probably 15 years and stuff. So my problem is, if she's the one that's in charge there, why this wasn't addressed back there where a temporary fix or whatever would have gone on to this. Because now for 15 years we've been having this leak and stuff, and now it's morphed into, it's gonna cost this much to fix. So she needs to be held accountable. Because if that was her own house and stuff, and let it get to this point, that would be on her. But because of what I would term malfeasance, it's now become this town for us to pick up what she should have been addressing a long time ago. So I don't know who needs to take her aside and stuff and go, hey, take some ownership for this, self-eliminate or do something. But something needs to be addressed on that. And like I said, this whole stuff here, when you get your full little quorum and stuff in here, most of this stuff, you guys can sit down there, make a decision, and move on. But supposedly, umpteen years ago, the lawyers had looked at this and concurred with whoever it was at that time. So if your legal team or whatever is telling you to do something one way or another, go with your subject matter experts or whatever, but move on. Because I'm getting kind of tired reading every time I turn around some stupid little thing. So I don't know, buck up, people. That's all I'm trying to say. So that's my bitch gripe point. Thank you very much for the.
Thank you for your comment. Other comments from the public?
Click here first.
And just so everybody's aware, during public comment, it's not a discussion time. I think we've had this conversation before, but for folks who don't know, it's not a discussion time. So I would encourage folks who have public comment that they want to say it, but to not expect a response from the board, but to also know that I think I can speak probably for all the board members, that if you have concerns that you want to discuss further, to reach out to us for a conversation, to follow up on any of the things that people have to say during public comment. Yeah.
I do have a concern that I hope the board will add to a future meeting. So we recently increased the police budget.
I'm sorry, can you state your name for the record?
Yes, Kit Langdell, East Randolph. We recently increased the police budget quite a bit. Now, in the last month or so, there was an ICE raid in South Burlington, Vermont, that resulted in the abduction of some U.S. citizens who they weren't officially supposed to be targeting even. And the local police, who are of course supposed to be protecting their community, collaborated and aided these ICE operations. I can say that any job I've ever done, if I were to do it that poorly, I would lose. I would like the board to put some kind of safety measures in place, especially considering that we have increased the police budget and are increasing our policing preemptively before something like that happens here. We are living in a time of ICE. I think it would be naive to think that they can't come here, and we should be protecting our community and holding people accountable if they are collaborating with people who are putting our community members at risk.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else? Seeing none?
But
Oh, is there something?
maybe a
else?
comment, I'm not sure if this counts, sorry. Sorry I couldn't be there tonight. But Trevor, I just got an email from Matt saying he's
So
waiting for the host to let him into the meeting.
I don't see a map. So
Okay.
folks, if I got an anonymous, I don't know if that's Matt. Hopefully everybody's using the link right to the Zoom link off the new website, the randolphtownvt.org that we've moved over to. So we're trying to suggest to folks, I don't know if that's who's reached out otherwise, to use that one. That's the one we started the meeting from.
Is
So.
that the same one in the agenda? Because it looks like the one in the agenda isn't working.
Okay, so the one that is working then, to just sort of skip to that part, is to click here for Zoom link on the randolphtownvt.org.
Okay.
Because me and Lori just both had the same issue and that worked for them, and that's what we started it from. So if anybody reaches out, it's the very top. I'll keep an eye out for anybody looking to get into, so. Thank you.
So seeing no more public comment, we'll move on to approval of agenda.
So moved. I'm sorry.
Whoa, hang on, I have one quick add, if you're amenable, in the certificate of compliance conversation. One of the other annual tasks that goes, whoops, I don't need, yeah, goes with it that we've done every other year. That's not the right one. Anyway, there's the TA 60 annual financial plan. It's just a form where we write down everything that got approved at town meeting, and we submit that to V-Trans. It breaks out winter maintenance and summer maintenance, so we've done it every year. It ties into our ability to get our financial aid from them. It's just a requirement every year. So if you would add that to 5K, we could take it up at that time.
Motion to approve with said amendment. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I was dealing with something I didn't fully listen, so I'll just abstain.
Motion carries 301. Move on to the consent calendar.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor of approving the consent calendar?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. We'll move on to our regular business. Burial plot buyback.
This is the first time I have gone through a burial plot buyback.
Yeah, me too.
Also appreciate that we actually have a letter saying I've been buried there.
Yeah, we have verified no one's written. But there are some rules, requirements, process elements that you're gonna wanna be mindful of. Thankfully, Joyce is here and Cliff's gonna try to join online, but the trustees of public funds who have a role in this have some more information for you. So if you're amenable to throwing it over to Joyce, we'll get more information on what we need to be thinking of as we move forward.
Yeah, exactly. I just clicked the new link.
Joyce Mizuko, one of the trustees of public funds. We actually held a meeting yesterday because I was made aware of this request for refunding the costs for the purchase of a burial lot and the perpetual care funds. And I gave Judy some of the information regarding that before she added it to your agenda. One of the components of the policy for refunding is that you're looking to refund the costs of the purchase of the lot, but also the refund of the fees collected for perpetual care. The trustees of public funds is the entity that controls the perpetual care funds. So any refund of that would require action by the trustees of public funds, which we held our meeting yesterday and we did take action. And our action was that we would approve the refund of the $1,010 in perpetual care funds that this individual paid at the time they purchased, with the condition that, first of all, that the select board in their action approves the refund of the lot purchase. Secondly, that there is a clean title, because there was a quitclaim deed that was filed in the purchase of the lot. So in order for this to become a clean title, there has to be a quitclaim deed from Ms. Martinez back to the town of Randolph. In addition, the other individual on that deed, Lillian Rhodes, is deceased. So a copy of the death certificate would need to be on file somewhere to give a clear chain of title to indicate that the town now has legal authority to be able to resell those lots. There's also a question about the $25 administrative fee that was indicated in the policy. That's something for the select board to address as to how you're going to collect it, or whether you're taking that out of refund money or whatever. But in the discussion that the trustees had, our interpretation of the policy indicates that the administration fee is for, we interpret it as being two administrative fees, not one, because there's two actions taking place. There is the action of the refund of the lot sale, and there's the refund separately by the trustees of public funds of the perpetual care. So going forward, and this does not need to be addressed now, at some later date, the select board may choose to relook at this policy and revise it to be sure that going forward, everybody is aware of the type of process that needs to be taken in order for us to make sure we've done everything legally and it's clean and there's a clean title to be able to sell those lots. And in Miss Martinez's request, she was looking for the total amount that she had paid at the time of the purchase. But in looking at the bill that she had, there are certain fees that in the trustee's opinion should not be refunded. In her bill, there were two different fees for credit card, use of credit card. So those fees are not something that can be refunded. Also in her request, she was looking for a refund of the 4 corner posts that were installed. Now, if the post has been put in, I don't know how you can refund it, but that's a decision from the select board, because that's not related to what the trustees do. So we just want to be sure that you are aware that the trustees will approve the refund of the perpetual care fee, but it's contingent that all these other things be in place so that the town is covered, that there's a clean title for the burial lots.
Thank you. I thought, well, not too bad.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
There was a death certificate included, but I did not think it was appropriate to put it in the packet. So we do have a copy of it.
Okay. Is the 1524.75 inclusive of the 4 corner posts or no?
The 4 corner post was $125. Okay, and, the total cost for the lot was $360. The perpetual care was $1,010. And then there was 2740 and 235 in credit card fees. So the 2740 and 235 are not fees that the town, in my opinion, should refund. Because those were fees collected as part of the administrative fees for taking a credit card payment.
And the corner posts, those are things that the town.
Yeah, at the time that they purchased the lot, they had requested that there be 4 lettered corner posts installed on those lots. So those cornerstones have been installed.
Yeah.
So,
But didn't Larry's letter say they'd be removed? But I do realize that costs money, so I mean, that has to be.
And those, what are the letters?
I don't know.
Like, what do they represent?
Well, the
Is it-
last name.
Is it,
whoever-
oh, okay, so it's a custom,
Yeah,
yeah, so that would seem like something that we
it would need to
would
come
not,
out,
would
yeah.
not, we would not refund.
So,
Okay.
but I mean, the decision for what you end up refunding on that end is your decision. I was just pointing out this information, just for clarification.
Yeah, no, thank you, Joyce, it's really helpful. So, what decision do we actually need to make? Or would be helpful for us to make to?
So I was working on the tech issues. It sounds like if they agree, is the first decision for the board to agree to refund the Veriplot to get the trustees into what they need to do, or should that come later?
I believe the board needs to first decide whether or not they are going to refund the lot purchase fee, which was the $360. From there, you need to decide whether you deduct the $25 administrative fee from the amount that you're refunding, or if you're gonna request that she send you the fee of the $25 refund. Administrative fee, excuse me. Then I don't know who is responsible for doing the quitclaim deed. Personally, I think it's probably on the part of Miss Martinez that she will need to come up with a quitclaim deed to deed back the lots to the town, but I'm not a lawyer, so I mean, can't give you legal advice. But that's, in my opinion, that's probably what needs to occur. And then that we are sure to record the copy of the death certificate in either the land records or the cemetery deed records, so there's clear paper trail indicating how the chain of title took place. And the trustees have already made the decision that we will refund the $1,010 contingent on the select board covering those other items.
Right, and so it's in our policy that we have this process for buying back. We don't. It like, has this,
It's been done.
Sounds like
it's
we've
been
done
done,
it.
it's been done
Yeah.
twice.
It's been done twice before, and I can tell you that the process was not done correctly. Because as far as, because one of them definitely was done in my tenure, and I do not recall that there was ever another quitclaim deed filed, that they should have been.
I bet you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I remember.
Do you want us to maybe pause then, work with Joyce and Cliff, come up with an action plan for you that links all the steps up, gets everything, and then so essentially table this until May?
Should we take any action so that we would approve it if those things are done?
Right, that's most of the thing.
If a conditional, yeah, I mean, like, you could do a conditional approval, I guess. Like I said, this is new territory for me.
I think, would you need some type of conditional approval from us?
No, not, I mean, just the minutes of the meeting indicating your action would be sufficient for us to proceed with, processing the refund.
What if the motion was more generic and just to approve
Right.
the initiation of the process of the buyback and to remit all refunds as required, be something more generic that kind of covers it that way, but at least lets them initiate, there's a buyback action start.
Right, or, you know, once we're sure that all the parts and pieces are in place, we can process on our end of initiating, a check. For the refund.
Right, and we'll still need to figure out about how he's responsible for supplying the deed.
Can't we request that she does that? I mean, we could agree to buy back the 6 plots minus the $25 administration fee, minus the $125 corner lot or corner posts. And then that she provide the.
Right, the 1,010 for them.
Right, so we'd give her back minus the 150
Minus the credit card fees.
and the credit card fee 235, 150, 235.
And Joyce's other question was, should there be one $25 fee or two, because there's two.
But that's something to address at another
That's-
time, because I personally think the policy needs to be revamped.
Okay.
There's been talk
And
about
that's something that doesn't need to be immediately addressed. But down the road, you know, it's something to look at so that in the future, should this come up, there'll be a clear process laid out. And it won't be as confusing as it is right now.
And where does Days come into this? Because they took the money initially and I'm assuming they then paid the town?
Dave Hero Home acts as the cemetery commissioner.
Right.
They collect the fees, they turn them over to the town.
So if we bought it back, does it go back through them?
It does
somehow?
not need to go back through,
Okay.
through Dave. But, yeah, the fees that he collects when he sells the cemetery lot and the perpetual care comes to the town.
Okay.
The cemetery plot fees are town revenue. The perpetual care funds then get transferred to the trustees of public funds to manage.
Sorry, clarifying question on the perpetual care fund. Where is that in here? I'm just trying to find that, like what we charge them for that.
It's on the back side of if you have a copy of the deed, there's two sides of the deed. One side,
The handwritten stuff?
right, one side of it indicates the,
Right.
lot fees, which is the 360. And on the back side of the deed, it indicates the perpetual care fees, which is 1,010.
Okay. So that she's not getting back.
The 1,010 she would get back because the trustees have conditionally approved refunding that, contingent on the board's action to approve the refund of the lot purchase fee and the administrative fee and the quitclaim deed.
I wanna make sure I'm clear. So is the maintenance fee and the lot fee two separate things? Like you're buying the area,
They're two different,
like your real estate, and then you're paying for the maintenance of it, two
Right.
separate things.
two separate things.
Okay, so okay. Sorry, this is upside down for us, so.
Handwritten one?
Yeah, and handwritten, yeah. Oh, thanks. I'm fine tabling it. Maybe get more clear, but happy to give you whatever you need also. You need some type of motion. Or guidance.
I'm not even sure how to construct it right now, to be honest.
I mean, is there a way we can give them the go ahead with their recommendation for?
I think maybe the generic motion to authorize the initiation of the process for the burial plot buyback. Maybe just as simple as that.
Summer. Yeah. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, Joyce. Yeah. I really appreciate that. I would never have gone there, so thank you.
Yeah, no, Joyce showed up, said,
Except that we got that talking about it, and the more we talked about it, it's like, wait a minute, there's a legal component to this that we haven't had. This is a deed, and a deed required another deed to supersede it.
Yeah.
So. Thank you very much.
Move on to the assembly permit, for the 4th of July parade.
So I saw Marissa, she's here. You've got the updated assembly, yeah, I think she and Joyce know each other, maybe. That's a guess. But, so what you have in here is the assembly permit application. We also talked when we met a little bit about moving forward, that maybe there's some sort of MOU that takes the notes we've had in prior years and solidifies that. That's not in here for now as an action item. We can dig it up, we can do it later. Just kept it real simple to this, but if you hear about that, that's sort of what its origin is, and then just defines roles and responsibilities a little more clearly than we've had in prior years, so. Yeah.
So, I sent along an updated, permit from after our meeting with Trevor and the chief. And from that meeting, I understand that the chief of the fire department, it was also okay, gave Trevor the verbal okay, as long as the chief of police okayed our plan. We're okay with cutting out the section to make, of the hospital hill. I know that a lot of people will be upset over this. However, due to the, short staff of the police and, also having, enough volunteers trained to redirect traffic, that stands to say you cannot travel on this road yet. The parade is going through. You cannot join the parade. I guess that's been a problem in the past, so, for all these different concerns, to make it easier for our short staff of the policing, we have agreed to cut out the Hospital Hill section of the parade and make it just a straight route down, and contingent on that, he said that we had the approval from him. We do hope to expand, number of traffic controllers we have as well, just so that we make sure that we have enough trained people and people with more experience paired with somebody who maybe this is their first year doing this. Also expand having the number of parade walkers to be more than just one person per section. So that, higher risk events like the bicyclists have somebody designated to stay with them, make sure that everybody is safe. So, if there's any other questions on that part of the parade route, I'm happy to answer it.
Not a question so much as a concern which you addressed, but I feel like it needs to be said that there are gonna be hundreds and hundreds of people who are gonna be very upset with this change in the route. It's not like a couple of people, it's gonna be hundreds of people. And
It's gonna have to be really advertised and explaided as to
Yeah.
why, because you're gonna have people sitting out there wondering why the parade's not coming.
Yeah, so
it's gonna be a pretty big change, it's a really big change.
Well,
people have been
it has
coming-
been done in the past, due to one culvert or issue where it was very upsetting for everybody then too, but I'm not going to make it harder on our police staff. We only have 3 members that are going to be there from the Randolph department. There's going to be 2 members from the South Royalton department. I'm gonna make it easy as possible.
We understand why you're doing it. I think we're just trying to prepare you to
Yeah,
make sure that word gets out so people know.
yeah.
Just to save the upset
So
reaction later on.
I put some stuff up on the website about it, but I haven't made a big announcement that it's up there yet. one thing I'm going to do is update it with saying something about the reasoning behind cutting out that section, and that it might, we understand that it's a big deal. It's not that we don't want to do that, it's that for safety and due to our short staff, that, you know, have more people apply for being a police officer.
Exactly. I think you might get more participants in the parade, because having driven trailers myself, long trucks and trailers in the parade, making those corners down those side streets are terrifying. And a lot of people don't put things in that they would because they can't make those corners. So I think you might see increased participation. I'll also say, having been in the parade the last few years, it's pretty sparse in a lot of spots, and maybe this will help kind of bring people more to certain areas to just kind of.
I already have excitement over the parade.
Yeah.
The South Burlington Co-op is planning their entry already, and they've contacted me saying, hey, is this going to be in line with the theme? And we're super excited. And so they're all ready to do a little presentation before the judges stand. I told them that there was trophies, and they're going to go all in for that. The jazz band and the dance group from the high school are super eager to be part of the parade as well. I've had several other people contact me saying, what's the day of the parade? Will there be stuff coming out soon? And I said that I'm meeting today, so.
Do you have people ask you when the 4th of July parade is gonna happen?
I know.
Yeah.
I understand when it's a Sunday, but like.
Yeah. Just maybe because, you know.
Just checking,
Just checking to make sure that being on the weekend, it was still going to be on the day.
I feel like it's promising that we are in April and not June with this application, which has been, it's been a scramble in the past years to actually get even the application in, so that's promising, so I appreciate that. And the other comment I have was, I've actually helped with traffic before, and no, I don't want to, but actually my oldest daughter's birthday, she's gonna be 16 this year, so I try not to be involved with the parade, but that being said, there's been some folks who've tried to get younger folks involved in volunteer hours, and I guess I would just say that I would want our chief to have some say in making sure that the traffic control volunteers are like.
That's why I'm saying pairing older with.
Sure, yeah, I think
experience with the.
I would want, I want our chief to be able to kind of make sure that he's feeling comfortable with how that's happening.
Yeah.
That's
I
my comment.
I would also like to have a separate day, not just the parade day, that the traffic control people meet up, go over everything, make sure that they understand what they've signed up for. And that's part of the idea of having a larger pool, is if somebody goes, oh, wait, no, I can't tell people that they can't drive on this road.
Oh yeah, people get really aggressive, so yeah, and then some of the teenagers have like just disappeared at times too, and so. I would just.
We've heard those concerns, and I'm trying to address it by.
Sure. Yeah.
Drawing on a larger pool of people and also pairing up people.
Yeah, I would just want our chief involved in that conversation with you. I trust that you're gonna.
I've already had
Take care of him
a
together,
couple conversations with, one in the official meeting and one prior to that, telling them what my ideas were.
Yes. This has been very interactive, it's been detail oriented, it's been very communicative. This is a really nice, I want to really praise sort of the adjustments that have happened. And make sure we call those out publicly, because we're in April. The details are more or less lined up, and that's a really nice space to be in, so.
Yeah, I pulled from the notes from previous years, to see what was happening and to make sure that, that the draft MOU that I did was in line with, what had happened in the past, and I'm happy to change things in it. Trevor had made a couple suggestions. I talked to Morgan because I had sent it out to Morgan or to the rec department too, being that they're always involved. And Morgan also said that had to do one adjustment under that section as well. So,
And then this permit also includes the usage of the rec fields after the parade, and I've got questions about petting zoos.
yeah, okay. Yeah, so
Think about
I've done
like,
this
is this
before in
where the
Berkshire.
insurance is required?
It's gonna be miniature animals, not like.
Yeah, so I'm thinking
Tiger.
small goats,
Tigers.
small goats, angora, rabbits, you know, small petable animals in a smaller area. It's just something extra fun for the kids.
I have people chase our float down the road when we have many cows on the float, so people will love a petting zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have cows.
Make sure that we have the
Right, for cows.
station there. Where I wanna have it set up is not an area that's typically used by the recreation and the camps. And so that's any of the droppings, they'll dissolve in a couple of weeks anyway, but, it's away from the usual trafficked area.
Do we have any concerns with that for insurance at all, Trevor, or either?
I gotta be honest with you, if a goat bites somebody and we have to deal with it, then
I might.
then we'll break new ground, I think.
Yeah, so, I would make sure that any of the animals that are invited over would be very good with small children. And, like my goat was, like, she was being led around by a 2-year-old. And she was perfectly fine, and everybody petted her and fed her.
We're talking about over
So-
here, right, Marissa, this.
So over in that little alcove, that people don't usually go in. So, and it's got behind where the bounce houses will be. So when asking people with their animals to come, I would let them know that as well. And Karen, who is from One Digital and helps with our insurance, she's also our board president. She was going to try to be on this call too, but the meeting link and in the agenda was not bringing us to the correct place.
Would you guys have a separate insurance for that day anyways, like an event
Yeah,
insurance?
Yeah, we have an event insurance for the day.
Yeah.
And it covers all the bounce houses, dump tanks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also asked to be able to expand to the other side of the bridge. I would like to ask one of the rescue places to do an adoption day under the pavilion. And also, if I have enough time and energy, I'd like to do touch a truck over on that side too. And maybe source somebody to do pick up softball or a little league games using one of the fields.
I think those sound like great ideas. As people who have gotten ready for the parade, you spend a lot of time and energy like cleaning, preparing, and last year the parade went so fast that I was like, we just worked so hard and that was over in like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So I think having that opportunity down there for people to get up close to these things and
Yeah.
have a little more time and time to show off what they've brought down. I hope people would be excited about that because I think this sounds awesome. So,
Yeah,
good job.
so yeah, I would ask them to go around to the other side, and into the area with the playground.
Yeah. Getting there will be fast,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, or, now, in theory, we could have 2 different touch a truck places if, there was enough people who wanted to stay. But, yeah, I'm encouraging people to travel down to the recreation field. Hopefully the pool will be open that day and we'll be able to have another free swim. That was a great draw last year. I plan to have the silent auction again. And I already have a volunteer to set that up and sit with it for the first part. So there's lots of Oh, and the Fish and Game Club has confirmed that they will be doing their duck race. Catamount Pipe Band is on, John Locker Band will be playing, as well as Are You Rocking? The high school band that played last year, they'll do the intermission. And I am planning on the festivities to go on till 3:30, which is I think a little bit beyond what we have done in the past. That's because it's the 250th and we want people to have a real chance to celebrate. The culinary is doing a huge cake for our event. So we'll be serving that at some point during the after parade festivities as well. And the Marine Biology Club will be doing the dunk tank, face painting, and strawberry shortcake again. South Royalton Old Home Days and Sharon Old Home Day partner up to do fundraising things, and they want to do the fried dough at the event. We already have some foods being lined up as well. So, any other questions?
So we would have to amend the permit if we want to allow the other side of the bridge, right? We have the motion to accept this with additions.
To approve as amended to include use of would that be the north side of the recreation field?
Contingent upon approval from chief.
Public safety and other town officials, so we might rec and Andy said he'd be fine with it, but we'll have him sign it as well, but make it contingent on that.
She did say in the meeting that if we did expand over to the other side of the bridge, he would post one officer on that side, one officer on the pool side, and then the other officer would still be available in the town. So we would still be covered.
And Trevor, we've gotten payment from the chamber that was passed due, correct?
Yeah,
Past services.
they're in good stead. So and the other thing that will already be completed at this point too, that'll help lengthen things together. If you remember when you approved the accessibility path back in November, I think it was, that's gonna be completed by mid-June. So this whole path up through here transitions for accessibility to the pool, playground, camp buildings, and all of those spaces. And then there'll be a path that kind of goes around this as well. So that'll all be in place to help support people as they move around, or if they just feel like getting out and exploring the park. So kind of a nice little moment.
Yeah, so it'll be
synthesis.
kind of an announcement to say, hey, look at the work the town's done and enjoy our recreation area. Because a lot of people don't even know that playground's up by the bridge. As strange as it sounds, I've heard people say, what, there's a playground there? There's ball fields? We need some sign.
All right, motion to approve permit with amended map contingent upon all town staff approval.
Sure.
Second. Good job.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carries 4-0.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you so much, guys.
And thank you for all the work.
Yeah.
It sounds great. Wow. We will now consider the outside scenery request.
Before we do, can we do just two quick things? One, Eva Loomis with the Zoom link issue, I wanted to get in for public comment real quick. I know it's unusual to go and revisit it, but because we had a tech issue, it's up to you, it's your meeting, but I wanted to make sure to call it out. But before you do, if anybody in the room or online has heard from anybody, we have gone out. Please go to the new website. We've tried to clarify, use this link to join the Zoom meeting. So if anybody's still looking to get on, this is the link that's certainly working for folks. So we also try to point folks to that. So just if you happen to hear anything or somebody's looking.
Yeah, Eva, would you like to join us?
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. Eva Loomis. So I clicked on the Zoom link in tonight's meeting agenda at 5:30, and it did not bring me to the correct meeting as it had in the past. This is how I usually join and Zoom in. So I sat in that room and ultimately went online to find a different way to access the Zoom tonight through the Newtown website on the calendar page. So I was, after 15 minutes, able to join, and Trevor immediately let me in at 5:45. So this is why I missed the public comment. Thank you for hearing this now. So this has me wondering if there were other people who tried to join this way and didn't make it in. So I would suggest putting the correct Zoom link on the agenda. And also, last month, I sat in the waiting room at the reorganization meeting for a few minutes, which isn't a lot of time in the grand scheme of things, but a lot can happen in the first few minutes at the start of a select board meeting. And it happened that while I was waiting, I think that's when the new board positions were selected, which I was really hoping to catch. So yes, this could have been avoided if I had just gotten into the Zoom waiting room early. That's totally on me. But because in the past it's taken me some time to be admitted into the meeting, I waited in tonight's first Zoom waiting room for so long. Other people might not have waited that long. So I've been thinking that if you can just walk into the physical meeting space, I would like to suggest that somebody can just sort of quote unquote walk into the virtual meeting space and not have to wait until they are let in. That's all. Thank you very much for hearing me.
Thank you.
Dr. Seating?
Yes.
Just if you see anybody waiting online, because I'm helping you guys out, I'm taking notes and I'm running the machine. So if you see somebody waiting, holler it out to me and yeah.
Yeah.
About
Try to wave at you.
Yep.
Things.
This, yeah, same request as it's been the last 2 years, same setup. We don't have any reported issues.
It's going well in the past.
Slow mumbly.
Oh, sorry. Seems like it's gone well in the past.
Yep, no issues have been reported, so this would be year 3, if approved.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the topic is.
The outdoor seating for Sweet Scoops ice cream, so where they put the tables out, yep, right on the sidewalk.
I've discussed it was in front of my windows of my business, but there's no financial gain for me. There's just more Windex and paper towel result in my life, but. My kids lick those windows, but I can abstain from this.
Your motion to approve that.
Make a motion that we.
Second,
sorry. Like approving her abstaining. I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Next up is a grant policy amendment.
This is seeking to amend some language that we included at primarily the state's request back in February, and we were doing it on the fly. And there's we think a better way to say the same thing. So Stephanie's here, can walk you through what that proposed change is and how it hopes to clarify everything.
Would you like me to just quickly explain?
Sure.
Yeah, thanks. On the 12th of February, the previous select board adopted an amendment adding a subdivision or subsection to the grant policy under the grant management that all grants will be, not including sub-grants shall be managed in compliance with all financial policies adopted by the town. And when that was originally proposed, the exception of not including sub-grants, the previous chair pointed out we do need an exception for sub-grants. And this was sort of done very quickly at 9 o'clock at night. And then as I was walking up the stairs and out to my car, I was like, that wasn't quite the right way to do that. And so the proposal is to further amend by having all grants shall be managed in compliance with all financial policies adopted by the town, except where federal requirements or sub-grant agreements specify an alternative. And that's much clearer as a operational procedure. So that's what's before you to move to propose that as the new sub-I, with the clarity on sub-grants and federal requirements.
Does that automatically happen though? Cause it went federal requirement, there's not federal law, federal requirement.
It would, but the way having the exception after all grants, it makes the sub-grants sort of, because it's not specific. What you want is the specificity of a sub-grant agreement. And if you don't have that, then it wouldn't even apply to something that didn't have a specificity in it. So the way it's just where the phrase is the question about how you would address that. And it just makes it clear the expectation on how it interacts with our financial policies.
Any further discussion from them?
The most exciting thing to do all year. Forward at the moment.
Yeah.
Treasure it.
Motion to approve as amended.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. And now we are off to appointments. Boards, commissions, committees.
We've got the updated list.
I emailed it.
You know that, okay. If you want to either move on to something else, take a break, I can go grab it and try to drop it in the folder so we can all look at it if you want. I tried my email here, but it wasn't doing much productive a little while ago. Still stuck on Wednesday.
We could move ahead a couple of notches for a moment and go to the permitting software and.
Yeah, because
Makes sense because Mark's here.
Mark's here and he can handle that. So yeah, I'll step out for a second, put that in the folder and we'll come back and do that if that works for you.
Sounds good.
Hang on, I'm on camera and I don't want anybody like family or other watching me walking.
Anonymous is your doctor.
Yeah.
I'll be caught breaking the rules.
Okay. But Mark, you ready to give us the update?
In the packet, did you receive the note from Rethink Local and the letter from the CEO?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so if you read those two pages, you'll see that there were some questions in the prior select board meeting from residents, and it sounded like there may have been some confusion that stemmed from people that were looking at the polymorphic website, assuming that the privacy policy terms of service for the website users were the same as the people who would be using the portal through the deployment of the software for the zoning and permitting for Randolph. And the letter that you have from the CEO, which perhaps it should be read out loud, I don't know, but the letter, the CEO directly addresses the concerns and shows that it is not in fact shared in any way.
I feel like the questions have been answered then. So I have a motion to approve the contract.
Actually, I have some questions. As a member of the public, sorry. This is Dustin.
Yeah, Dustin, you can go ahead.
Okay. One, I'd like a little bit of clarity. So this software is only going to process data for people using it, right? People who apply for permits in person won't have their applications run through the system irregardless?
Mark, is that your understanding?
That's my understanding.
Okay, great. And two, if the privacy policy online only applies to their website, and I thought about this, Mark, I couldn't find another privacy policy. Do we have a copy of the actual privacy policy or the contract that we're agreeing to? Has the select board reviewed that?
Our staff has reviewed that. That's the staff.
I mean, it sounds like
And-
Alex just sent an email. It doesn't sound like he reviewed their privacy policy.
He
And
did
does-
actually, just was not present at the last meeting to say so, but he did. And now we have a letter from the CEO of the actual company regarding the software, directly addressing the questions and the concerns.
I mean, it says they don't sell user data. It doesn't say they won't sell user data. And it says limited, the access is limited to authorized systems and personnel without really laying out what those are. This is not like a real comprehensive privacy policy, and I just
Well,
think we
what,
should be
what the,
reviewing
just to
that.
be clear, what the letter says, Dustin, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Are you finished?
Yeah, go for it.
Polymorphic maintains a zero data retention partnership with OpenAI. Data processed through the underlying language models is not stored by the LLM, and we do not sell or otherwise monetize user data. That seems clear.
Okay, and in our contract, does it say as long as we contract with them, they won't sell user data? Because I called the town of St. Albans. They used to use Polymorphic, right? They got in on a sweetheart deal where they paid nothing and their users paid a fee per permit, sort of like our Municipay. Polymorphic a year later jacked the prices on them, and so they stopped using it. So I'm wondering if they will also change their policy on selling our town user data. That's all I'm trying to figure out, because I think it's important. But I am happy they have the zero data retention policy with OpenAI, but they still store their own data on their own servers and possibly other third-party apps that they use on their back end. But that's it. I'll get off my soapbox. Thank you for hearing.
There's a motion.
Man, but
A motion to approve.
I have a little discussion, yeah. I share Dustin's concerns about that, and my piece would be mostly about the finances part. He just mentioned that they're gonna jack the prices up, and I am concerned about that in the future. I wasn't present for the meetings when it was discussed about contracting out or zoning services, but I believe in the minutes, one of the main benefits was that it would be saving us about $10,000 per year. Going with this negates 90% of those savings.
These are two different things, so contracting with a human to be our person and contracting with the ability to do online things are two different things. This has already been budgeted for.
Where? I didn't see it in the budget.
I think that
It's a separate question, but it is in there.
the distinction is that
We're adding a service though. Because people want to be able to have an online way to apply for things, so they don't have to come to town hall.
Especially since we don't have the signed person in the office 5 days a week.
and that's part of it.
That's
That's my concern.
It's also just not practical, and even our town clerk has expended hours and stuff to be able to do things. We've added the ability to apply for things online through the whole town stuff and adding credit cards and all that stuff like that. It's what people want. It's also thinking about COVID and trying to do things without being in person. This is one of those things too, of being better prepared for future problems.
I don't think those services cost almost 10 grand a year though.
No.
And I do believe that those costs will increase, if not next year, then the year after, and I don't want us.
Say though.
Neither was the library 40 years from now, but I digress. I think we should worry about the increasing costs, and I don't want our town to become dependent on an outside service and then feel like we have no option of going back to an in-house, full-time, local zoning administrator.
This is just in addition to adding like an online service, right? And so if in 1 year they change the price, we can just say we're no longer offering that. It's not like, it's a 1-year contract, right?
That's what I was asking, how long is the contract?
Yeah.
And there's a set amount of money in that, there's a set fee in that contract. If it changed, we'd have to sign a new contract, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, and this is also a trial and error. And if we do it for 1 year and we don't think that it's valuable, then we don't continue.
And are they paid, sorry, just because I wasn't here before, are they paying fees when they're utilizing the service online like I do with the rec? I pay like a $2.50 online fee when I do my rec online version.
Oh, I believe the structure is a little different.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that the select board has heard the concerns and reasons that other towns have had for stopping the use of this service. And are deciding to do it anyway.
I heard the concern was that they raised the price.
Yeah.
So that would be a concern if they raised the price, then we would reevaluate in 1 year. So we have 1 year contract.
So why?
It's a 12-month contract, so it's a 12-month commitment. If we decide that it's not worth it, then we don't renew. That's not a concern to me. We know what our cost is for this 1 year.
If we didn't sign a contract with every party vendor because we were worried about the price increasing, we would have no contracts. I mean, there's a negotiation involved, and just like you said, if the price is raised to the point at which we're no longer comfortable, then you look for different vendors, you shop around. This is normal procedure for business. It's generally not done on the select board level every time we negotiate a contract.
And we also have someone who's working with multiple towns and multiple ways to do this and has experience and has done research and is an expertise in this field recommending this.
Well, that gets to another issue. And sidetrack that. Does Alex do any of what the software is going to do? Like, is this taking a whole bunch of things off of his plate, or is it taking things off of Tammy's plate?
I think this is what this is doing is kind of like boilerplate, typical permits of things that are really easy. You can go online, type it in, say what you want, click some boxes, so it's very clear. You hit submit, Alex can show up, say this fits all the things, accept. And then if there's any red flags, then Alex can take action and say like, okay, maybe we need to make a phone call or have a meeting, or, you know, most things that wouldn't like rise to DRB level would be through this permit. So it makes it easier for the user. You can sit at home, do a 5-minute application. You don't have to come to town hall. You don't have to worry about the hours. You don't have to worry to get home at 7 o'clock. You never get in there. You can get your permit through. Alex can click a few things and it makes it a lot easier. So yeah, it's making everything. He's being able to do a lot more work in a short amount of time. So it is actually making him a lot more efficient.
Will it flag things too if they're missing items, so that way things are completed properly when it comes in?
It does indeed.
He said that's one of the benefits. We get an awful lot of incomplete applications when people don't draw the sketches, don't designate setbacks, which are one of the crucial data points you need if you're gonna determine if a shed or a deck or something, because that's the scale we're talking about as project. So really, this is just another way to apply for a zoning permit. So you still have the paper copy. You also have this way to apply. There's still the zoning administrator still at the back end reviewing, comparing to the rules, and then determining whether or not to issue a permit or if it needs something else. So,
Could there be like with the rec one where we pay that credit card fee or the online fee associated with doing it online to help cover some of the additional cost of this?
I would imagine so, but I think that's how the portal's been used.
Because I can't get down here, so.
Right.
Or some people just don't do the permit. So we'd be collecting money that we might not otherwise collect because sometimes people just go do what they, because it's too hard.
Oh, right.
It's too hard to get a permit, you know, so I catch some people there, but it's like $10, right?
Yeah, it's zoning. Sometimes they be a little different than people. We get payment before permits ever issued. Ideally, it's at the time of application, but it's not. There are some provisions of when you actually log the payment based on the review process.
So they can apply once the permit is.
Right, because if you have an incomplete application.
Oh, so they're not paying
denied.
anything on this application?
No, no, they're not.
Sorry.
So yeah,
So I'll ignore what I said, sorry.
And I will say, for what it's worth, that the intent is to actually streamline some of the fee structures for the town that have been somewhat consistently priced for a number of years, and one of which would actually be to lower the zoning fee for some of the more very, very simple projects. And so that is an option that's being put on the table to be brought to your attention in the coming months as part of this overall process of revamping the entire sort of zoning ecosystem. So the intent is to have savings to actually come to the community for those more simple, easy projects that still require a level of bureaucracy that is somewhat difficult to, a lot of people have a hard time with these applications, and going online makes it so much more simple in so many ways. People come in, there are 2 or 3 different types of people that come in for a zoning permit, but the person that this is gonna most help are the people that just wanna come in and do their permit. They wanna do the right thing, they wanna follow the procedure, they wanna follow the rules. They often have a hard time with the application. They'll come in, they'll put it in once, and it'll be a mistake, and then they'll come back again, and they'll end up coming in 2 or 3 times. And online, the system will sort of red flag an issue that's a challenge. They'll be able to guide them through it. So it'll be simple for them. It really is about speed, ease, and knowledge of the whole process. And Alex plans to have simple notes on the page that allow people, if you're applying for a zoning permit for a porch, you can, this is the direction that you'll want to go. So it really, I understand the issues that have come up, but I think you'll find that this will be very popular in the community.
Trevor, you've got a hand up on
Yeah, I see.
it.
Can we find something like this for the Board of Abatement?
Well, I was just thinking about the whole like errors and applications, and last night,
Yeah.
yeah.
And if you could
like-
set the fields, it might standardize. I mean, not as familiar with what the BOA
The volume there is a lot.
It
Oh,
is,
yeah,
but it like the
it is, but
complication
it's
is a
so
lot higher in some
complicated.
ways, yeah. But anyway,
Yeah, so we do have a question from an anonymous participant on Zoom. Hoping you might be willing to identify yourself.
Hi there. Yes, it's Matt Knight here. Thank you for hearing me speak. I think this is a really good and fruitful conversation we're having. I certainly understand the appeal of a means to automate this process. I'm not sure whether it was Mark or Alex who authored in the meeting packet last time a number of reasons and benefits that were expected to be delivered by this system. I think what's notable is that none of what's been discussed here today or was in that sort of brief actually requires any elements of AI. What we're actually talking about is an automated process with some required fields. That is a very different proposal than an LLM-based, big sort of tech data center driven LLM. And I just want to make sure that the board and the town understand that differentiation. They understand the consequences of moving towards an AI-based system. These systems have onboarding processes. They have offboarding processes that look very different from what we may be used to with other tools. So it's a case of it doesn't just come out of the box and suddenly we're running. There is a setup cost, setup time involved. Likewise, if after 12 months we did decide for whatever reason to terminate the contract, to move to a different vendor, I think we should be aware of what that offboarding process looks like. How accessible is our data? How portable is it to a different system? And how much of the value add that's been created in the last 12 months would be lost if, or whatever period we've been with them for, would be lost if we did decide to move to a different vendor or move it back in-house. These businesses operate on a basis of vendor lock-in. That is the SaaS model that they're all leveraging. And I don't think any of these businesses that we're considering will be any different, whether it's Polymorphic or the other vendors. I just think we need to be aware of those concerns before we go into this. Typically, they do require setup beyond just the applications. We're talking about probably GIS data. There'll be elements of zoning data. I don't know specifically which elements of their product we intend to use and leverage. Again, if as a town the decision is to go with it, we should just be aware that any investment in that system, in configuring it and in setting it up, is almost certainly proprietary to that vendor and would be a lost effort should we decide to move to a different vendor in the future. So I just want to make sure that the town understands those implications because I think they are quite significant. And if in fact we are not planning to leverage any of the truly AI-driven LLM type features in here, which again, per the brief in the meeting packet last time and per the conversation today, nobody has referenced, then I think actually this vendor is offering a very different product to what it is the town is seeking. So
Thank you for hearing me.
Yeah, no, thank you. The idea that there could be, that these companies in general, like part of their model is to get you on board and make it hard to leave. And so I think that's a really legitimate concern. And do we know, Mark, about like the data that's inherent to the system? Like how much of it will reside on something that we don't have on our local servers or on a local file cabinet?
What we have a very efficient system now. I wouldn't say very efficient, but we have a system in place where all the permits are saved and put on, in our database at the town level. And we have a contract with Rethink for 2 years. And if theoretically, as Matt suggested, like if this were to blow up in our face, okay, worst case scenario, we have the system in place already and the capacity and staff to pick up and keep going seamlessly without our residents having a problem. I do understand Matt's perspective, and that is a risk, and that's a risk we take when we invest in technology. I think the odds of that happening at the end of 12 months are very low, but yes, they are there. But there's no way that the zoning process for the community will diminish in any way if we have to step back and continue down the path that we're going now, while deciding whether or not in the future we want to reinitiate the aspect of having an online system for permits.
And so all the data that's collected and that that the zoning administrator would process in terms of the forms and such is all then stored locally.
I can't answer that. You'd have to go back to the letter specifically from the CEO and how it's stored.
It's just that
I believe what he said in the letter was the data is stored as long as it's required to, in the same way that the town uses. I'm sorry.
Right. No. I'm getting at I just wanted to follow up on Matt's point that if we were to leave this service at the end of the contract, that all the data that's been processed through it is in that we have access to it without having to do anything.
Oh, indeed.
Like if for some reason they just go away, then we are kept whole in terms of all the data that we need that's been generated through the process of going through this system.
Yeah, I can't imagine we're not going to keep have access to all of the permitting for statutory requirements that we would otherwise. It would automatically flow in from the system back to our I can check just to be certain of it, but we have to have access to that for CCs, for requests about when they do a whole number of different requests from outside third parties. We provide access to zoning permits and CCs, and so we would still own the data if that's what you're asking. We would have access to it for everything that we would need, both during the contract and if we were to end it.
We also do this with MyRec too. That's a little bit different, given the online applications for things and data, and there's everything.
It's the application piece we're talking about primarily. There's still a statutorily required analog component to this. So when a zoning permit is approved and the person goes out to start their project, they've got to put a paper copy of that permit with the permit number in a window. So when you think of the records, you're thinking this piece is really the application piece, but there are some other pieces, a reference about certificates of occupancies and other things that are required as part of the process. And then there's still the folders that are upstairs that are relied upon by researchers, real estate professionals, those types. So there's a few different levels already in the mix in terms of what we do and how we do it. But
this is just making the application process easier.
Right,
Well,
it provides another way to apply, right?
Yeah, right.
But we have, over the last 3 years, we've been compiling digital copies of all the zoning permits. And so the goal is eventually to be able to go completely paperless when people want to see copies of permits, they'll be able to do it online, not have to come physically open up a drawer. I mean, we have probably 5,000 pounds of zoning permits in my office right now. And it's really not necessary to have it all done digitally. People don't have to come in and see what the office hours are. They don't have to ask to print them. They can just do it online. And that's, you know, we're moving further in that direction, but it may take still a bit longer.
And Randolph's not breaking ground by having an online application for zoning, right? We're not the first town in the whole United States to do this, right?
Correct.
I want to preface this by saying,
Identify yourself.
oh, I'm sorry, I'm Sunny Irons. I want to preface this by saying if it doesn't happen online, I don't do it. But I am really concerned about the AI aspect of this because there is a lot of concern with whether or not the information you get back from the AI agent is actually accurate or relevant or real in any meaningful way. And also with specifically these kinds of things. I used to work in software and our whole sales mode was get them in cheap, get their data, and then hold on to it for dear life and then jack up the price. That was how my company operated. And I know specifically with small municipalities, that is a really big concern because municipalities can be easy ones, especially when there's not a lot of volume or power. Once they get their hands into the data, it is something to be concerned about. So I would really encourage us to make sure that any data that is being processed through here, we do have it locally and outside the system and an easy way of pulling that out. Because if we are relying on a system, it's risky. And then once they have that data, even if we can pull it out, they never make it easy. Going back to Matt's point, it's never, you know, they will send it in like a file that's incredibly difficult to parse. That's a manual job. So yeah, I fully support getting it online. I just have concerns with the AI side of things and the fact that like St. Albans and other towns that have used this software haven't stuck with it. They don't sound enthusiastic about it.
Sounds like we should not count on getting the data back if we to them in the first place. That's not actually, I thought that there was a good point raised earlier that listening to the supposed needs for this data, none of them sound like AI needs to be a part of it. Honestly, all of it sounds like it could be easily done through something like Survey 123 through ArcGIS. Possibly even something as simple as like Google Forms. I don't know. Cheaper, more secure.
Mark, do you know if the zoning office has received up to this point any zoning applications purely through an online process like a fillable PDF or anything like that? Microsoft Paint?
No.
Okay.
Eva, do you have a
Eva
question?
hasn't.
Or comment?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to make a comment really similar to Kit's in that I'm not sure if this has been discussed at other meetings, but if the goal is for people to be able to submit their application packet online, maybe we do need something simpler. And I'm curious if we could talk about that more, if just a portal where people can submit their application materials would be sufficient. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment.
Does Matt have another hand up? Or do we not put it in down?
Yeah, Matt, do you have another comment?
Yes, I just want to reiterate here. I think everybody is in support, from what I'm hearing, of some form of automation around this process, something to make this process easier, to give residents more choice, to streamline things, to reduce the cost to the town. I don't think anyone is disputing any of that, and I'm certainly good with all of that too. I think the question here is about whether this vendor is the best solution to that problem. And that's why I'm just asking the town to consider. And specifically, I mean, I'm not sure who it was who said it at the back of the room there, but Google Forms would actually do pretty well everything that was requested and isn't going to cost us a cent. So at the risk of $9,000 saving us money, it also costs us $9,000. And if I read the meeting packet from this week correctly, Alex is suggesting we may have missed an inflection point on the adoption of such a tool anyway. So could that be a good opportunity to test run an interim process using a fillable PDF form, a Google form? I don't know if the town has at their disposal any other similar systems that are pre-approved and could be used, but essentially something that would get us most, if not all, of the requested features of this tool without the $9,000 price tag. So just something to consider there. I also would like just some clarification. Earlier, we heard in response to Dustin's question that if a resident submitted an offline form, that their data would not be entered into this system. Yet a few minutes ago, I just heard Mark say that there's a potential aspiration to go entirely paperless, which I would have to assume means digitizing paper originating forms, and hence that data would go into that system. So I'd just like some clarification and ideally something in the minutes to confirm one way or the other whether all residents' applications, regardless of the form of submission, would be entered into this system, whatever it turns out to be. Thank you.
No, more of a scan into a network folder that then could at some point be searchable in some other form, not through the polymorphic system. It's not that it would come in paper and be entered there. That application would get scanned.
Much like our minutes are accessible.
Like we do with a lot of paper, yep. And then one of the search portals that might make the most sense for that later could be through the land record search software, depending on what that digitization project looks like, where there's a subscription fee and you sign up and you can do all your research on one spot. Because that's who's really looking for these more often than not, at least on a regular basis. Permits and everything that goes with it.
Perfect. Thank you.
So there,
We just have to get one more, because we do need to move on.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, what would be the harm in doing a short trial period using something else that is free or cheap? Or some members of the board seem fine doing a year-long trial run that we might need to start, possibly, worst case scenario, start over from scratch afterwards of this software. So surely you wouldn't be opposed to doing a shorter trial run of something that is cheaper.
I think at this point, the answer to your question is that, the board doesn't usually get this deeply involved in issues that staff takes care of. We rely on our professionals that we hire to make a lot of decisions which affect all aspects of the running of the town government and the population who live here. And the select board is an oversight board, and for something like this, I really feel like we owe it to our town staff that we are trusting them with a certain amount of autonomy, and that we believe that they're giving us good information, and that their recommendations, unless we have like some really overriding reason to think that they're massively making a mistake, that we basically trust them. And a lot of these questions are things that like we actually don't really know all the answers to. They're really questions that come up in the day-to-day operations of the town. And in general, we really don't get our fingers in that level of detail as a board. So all the comments, all the concerns are valid, and I think we hear them really clearly. And at the same time, I think it's really important that the board, at a certain point, limit like how much we're gonna get into the nitty-gritty details of things, and we need to trust our staff to make, good choices. And I think a lot of these questions have been considered by town staff, and they've asked us to go ahead with this.
I understand that you want to trust your staff and give them a certain amount of autonomy, but you're also here to represent everyone in town, including our safety and privacy. And I, and clearly others here, feel that there are very valid concerns about that. as regards this software.
Yep.
So I would say that for this situation, it is very much the responsibility of the board to review it and not simply let a single or a couple members of staff do things that affect everyone in the community.
I believe we've heard those concerns very clearly, and I think we've heard responses clearly also that I'm personally satisfied with.
And this isn't something anyone is forced to use.
I clarified
Yeah,
that,
yeah, this is not like you have to do it this way, or we're not putting like everybody's voter, I mean, there's no information that is massively being dumped into this. If you don't want to use it, don't use it. You can get a paper copy. That's easy. So I motion to approve the contract.
What about once everything is fully digitized?
That's not what we're talking about today.
Motion to approve contract.
I'll second that.
All in favor of approval?
Aye.
Aye. Nays?
Nay.
Motion passes 3-1.
Are we bouncing back to
Yes.
the board committee commissions?
I assumed you took that long on that because I'm not moving very fast and you're giving me enough time to get back and forth.
Exactly,
Appreciate
we were
that.
definitely thinking about that.
Yeah, we're just anything go is still.
If not, I brought paper copies as a back relic of the last 3. Yeah, I was worried about that. Cause this is just a computer, so we don't. They're not here, so I have some paper copies of these and we can read through them. This is just you, this is based on, please take one, pass around, we might have a couple extras. When you look in the annual report, you'll see 3 pages, one of elected officials, one of appointed officials, and one of the board's committees and commissions. So when everybody's thinking about the format, that's essentially what we're looking at here. And it goes, this part of the process focuses on 2 types of appointments. So on page 2, there are the well, page 3 of the board committee and commission appointments. So these are the planning commission, budget committee folks are elected from the Florida town meeting. Conservation commission, some of those, that if anybody's up for an annual reappointment, this isn't to fill a vacancy. We do that through a slightly separate process. And then there are some other annual appointments that we make, such as representative and alternative representative to the regional planning commission. Same thing with the ambulance service, and a few others in between there. So each year around this time, we look through these appointments, we try to figure out whose term expires, because this is generally when they do, certainly with a list of appointments, so. It's taken us a few stabs at this because we've got to run everybody down, make sure that they want to serve, and if they don't want to serve, figure out who wants to fill the vacancies. So these represent who we know and where we're at right now. So just to run you through some of the ones to be thinking about today. Animal control officer, there is the Tri-Valley Transit representative, you've got the T-Rourke representative and alternative representative. There's a transportation advisory committee that we appoint someone to. I'm gonna volunteer John Shangrell when we get to that one. He doesn't know it yet, so it'll be a surprise for him, but it's the right guy for that.
For which one again? Sorry.
The Two Rivers Transportation Advisory Committee, yeah.
I see it, yep.
And so they help regional planning staff and VTrans staff with, different types of projects, grants, programs. They're an advisory and guidance body and help information go back and forth. So,
Okay.
When we get to the road erosion inventory conversation later, it plays into that process as well. And then the White River Valley ambulance representative and alternative. Of those, the ones that are vacant, I've served as your alternate rep to T-Rourke. Chris Sargent started when he was, I think, on the planning commission still. I think it's a good time to try to find maybe a board member planning commission combination, and ensure that attendance is pretty regular. Especially if the Act 2081 stuff, the different tiered map, that's where that conversation's got a place to be as well. So making sure that there's somebody there.
Do you know how often the T-Work board meets?
It's about monthly. I think they might have a month or two off here or there. It's I should forget if it's the second or third Wednesday of each month.
I'd be interested in joining that.
Yeah, and so a lot of times, because it's a policy making body, you might see staff members on that, but more in an alternates role. The advisory committees are more where you might see staff representation, John. And so the select board planning commission combo is a good one because of the mission to T-Work, as our regional planning entity. So when you think about that one for the term, they do a nice job, and you can attend virtually, or you can go down to Woodstock where they're headquartered and in their big barn space or wherever they hold their meetings.
Do you think one select board member, one planning commission member?
That would be my recommendation, I think, to try to maximize the type of representation and fit in. I think if you look through their roster, you'll see a lot of those combinations. Also, as a 2-decade vet of local government, seeing regional planning commission, executive bodies or legislative bodies like this one, they're strongest when they have direct connections to current members on those two bodies. When there's a little bit of a disconnect between those entities and the members they serve, it's often because you might have legacy appointments or somebody who's got an interest in it but isn't involved in, whatever the regular meeting cycle is. So it helps just to ensure that there's at least a representation of interest and hopefully an alignment of them if you're in an ideal space. Tri-Valley Transit, I don't think we've had a rep for a while. That doesn't have to be a board member. That could be anybody who has an interest in transit. Same thing with the White River Valley Ambulance. You see Gerard Mascola stepped up last year for that. And then on the third page is where you get into Conservation Commission, East Valley Community Group, DRV. Well, we've got a vacancy on that one. As well, Planning Commission, Water Wastewater Advisory, and then our Fire Services rep. David's been pretty active in that. This is to think about Ken's question from another time. The board committee assignments are part of the next topic, so those are the ones where you'll try to figure out how to assign yourselves to different enterprises.
What should we think of this? Are we just going over this so we can fill these vacancies later, or do you want to actually appoint some people tonight?
Often what we'll do when we get to this spot is we'll reappoint everybody unless we've heard otherwise, and then we'll confirm that and then see candidates for vacancies on these commissions. That lets them meet quorums, keep doing their work. The premise is everybody's been vetted to some extent. Obviously, if you have a member of one of these you're concerned about, we talk about what to do with that one.
Voting on the 2026.
Yeah, I would say split it into a couple of different pieces. Maybe the first one is on page 3 where you're doing the reappointments. So this is Conservation, East Valley, Fire Services Advisory, Water Wastewater Advisory, because those are all 1-year terms. And then we can post the vacancies and we'll double check with everybody to make sure they're still interested. I'm serving, I'm looking at one of these, on conservation, we've got somebody listed, that should be a vacancy at the very top. They've relocated.
Yeah. 2 vacancies.
I mean, they can still serve from where they are. I think that's quite a bit to get here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not on the conservation committee anymore. That's a vacancy.
Okay. So we can motion to reappoint all these folks unless anyone has any.
Pending confirmation of their willingness to serve and authorize us to advertise for, but not authorize us and direct us, or however you want to say it, demand, because you wanted to demand last week. So that we post these vacancies for anybody who might be interested.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. And yeah, so we'll be reaching out to the chairs of all these committees to implement their membership.
Yep. And then
I can tell you right now that the Water and Wastewater Advisory Committee is set, except I think, yeah, I wonder if this is something, can we change the the size of the membership of a committee, like right now, as a board. So I think the Water Wastewater Advisory Committee has been officially a 7-member board. But that's really more people than we need, and it just makes it hard to get along. And so we have a 5-member board right now with 5 really good members.
Like
So-
officially 7, so you have to have at least.
So we have to
one.
have, yeah, so,
But if we brought that down to.
but if we
5.
bring it down to 5, then we'll have, and sometimes people come to us with, an allocation request or something we really would rather not have to put off until we can get a quorum, so.
Probably the safest way to do it would be to warn it as a separate agenda item at a future meeting, as much as that's dragging it out, just because we didn't put committee size change in here, it was more about the appointments too.
And make a note to do the next meeting. Wasn't it implied by the tone level?
You did say the man.
I did say that, but Larry's a play one, so.
Can we?
Oh.
And then, being new. If we wanna propose new committees, where is that?
That would be something we would schedule and say, consider creation of energy committee, rec advisory, or in those cases, rebirth,
Rebirth, yeah, rec and.
renewal, yeah.
Yeah, and that was in our packet
That was
for some
Yeah.
committees.
Yeah, so you could assign yourselves to them, and then working with those members, we could work to restart those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Was one of those, is the one you're talking about on that list?
Yes. Rec, econ, and energy were the 3 that were listed, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. These packets are so long.
Yeah.
I know. It's making like Emery's paper over there. Jealous.
That's, it was on the one to put the digital one together, I'm over here. Would it help if we moved to a system that wasn't a single PDF and was rather some kind of almost like a SharePoint or a drop type folder, and you can click in between the individual items, or is that?
I did
It's
have
just
it open into, sorry.
It's when we change the agenda around that the one single body gets to, that we're all, when it just goes in flow, it's great, but then it's also annoying to have to go in and open each thing. I mean, unless you just have them all open, which I did last night for the abatement ones.
Would it be more of a burden to number the whole packet, so we would know that instead of like have multiple things be multiple numbers, have the whole thing be a packet, maybe a quick table of contents? That could be administratively burdensome, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's possible, but what we'd have to do is get really disciplined about when agendas get set, when materials are allowed.
Yeah.
So that we can make sure that that gets done, that things get linked to, and that the page numbers are right. So it is possible, but it means we have to be.
Yeah, but we also sometimes have unavoidable additions that we just, even though we'd rather not have them at the last minute, sometimes
Right.
stuff just
Maybe.
happens and we don't have much of a choice.
I think maybe the different tabs are nice, cause I also like to have the agenda up and then also.
Yeah,
I usually-
I opened up on mine, I just opened up the original agenda that you sent out
Multiple
in one,
times.
and I opened up the packet in another one, so that way I just quickly.
You're so sorry.
Yeah, I was just complaining, sorry, I didn't mean for that hand to open.
I took you off track.
Just the old lady at the tech over here.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
If there's a better way,
uh,
we'll look for it.
I was just explaining my laziness of not scrolling back through. So rec, economic development, and then energy were the 3 that we were looking at appointing select board members to start revamping, rebirthing.
Yeah.
Recreating, simply creating.
Yeah, so I guess I would just start by saying that I'm currently the liaison to the planning
Are we
initiative.
gonna,
Well, we just talked about who's doing what, so I just thought I
do
would.
we need to do the elected offices and stuff like that? Is there,
I thought we just did.
So you did the committees.
The committees, we did the committees. Do we need to talk about elected official vacancies?
If you're good for now on the appointments list on page 2, these aren't the elected, these are the purely appointed.
Okay. Do we want to appoint anybody to those before we do the
Oh, yeah, let's,
before we do the committees.
yeah, we could do that.
Maybe to continue any existing appointments.
For these here.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a few that it might be nice to advertise and see if there's someone interested in taking on a role.
Our ACO has been sometimes, is she still interested in continuing or?
That'd be one to verify and to think about where you wanna go with that.
Yeah. Did we at one point talk about the structure of that too being a little bit more of like a public safety thing and not really an appointed? There's some different structure that we can use for that, right?
Yeah, and staffing was the major pullback on that, cause the way a lot of time that manifests is it's in or through the police department, whether it be a non-uniform individual, or it could be a community service officer, it could even be a badged individual. I mean, there's different ways to do it, but then it sort of fits within that regulatory framework.
And can they go outside of the village?
That's what I was.
If they were the dog or the animal
The
control officer,
DCO.
they would, because that's a broad, that would have to be one.
Okay, so they could have a dual.
Yeah.
But that seems like a complication that,
Yeah.
in addition to the problem of just the capacity to take on an additional responsibility.
I have the same question about the enforcement officer position. Which is also.
Oh, the junkyard or the salvage yard?
Yeah, solid waste,
Yeah.
junkyard enforcement officer.
That's one that, yeah, is functionally vacant. And I actually ended up in that role
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah.
Just to take, not perform, because the way the ordinance is written, it defaults to the role, yeah. But it was more about answering questions and looking up other resources, but having somebody who's interested in that, who can work within the existing parameters. I mean, a lot of that is, I don't go too deep, but what's hard about that particular position is you get caught in that really broad space. Larry had a bill last year that would have addressed some of this. There's a bill on the Senate side that would help with some of this, where you're talking about blight or property cleanups. If you stay on the right side of the salvage yard program rules, which generally apply to vehicles, and you stay on the right side of the solid waste program rules or about the garbage, you can have as much stuff as you want in the in-between and not be in violation of either sort of ordinance or set of state rules. So the person in that role spends an awful lot of time kind of describing where the boundaries are really finite, and the fact that there isn't a lot you can do in between. So you're trying through diplomacy or soft influence to see if you can get somebody to clean up a property, organize it, throw up fencing in some cases. Often not successfully. And then these ordinances are, because at the end of the day, you could issue fines, they're pretty minimal, and there's no mechanism that people don't pay. And what you have is you can sue for compliance. And what kind of compliance are you gonna sue for if somebody doesn't have the resources to comply anyway? So you get into this, you're explaining what you can and can't do and hoping you can convince somebody to take action. So it's an interesting role, which I probably just sold to anybody who's thinking. I'm sure that was convincing. You wanna be a salvage yard officer, it's great.
So could we advertise for those and just see who else comes or see who comes forward there and.
Okay, so we're considering those two vacant then. The ACO.
I thought we were gonna check in with.
So
Let's check in on the ACO
Oh.
piece and then, well, maybe with the solid waste, just because there is a backup plan.
This is the third time we've done this, but why the library director in a appointed position?
Appointed by the board of trustees, so this is
So it's on ours because
anybody who's appointed
this
basically.
is on, okay.
Yeah, it's a bulk list.
Um,
So if you were gonna make one appointment tonight, it would be to remove the TAC temp there. That guy's no good. And appoint
Who's TAC?
Shangro, that would be me.
TAC, that's right, okay, yeah.
And put
Good speak.
old Shangro in
we
there.
can just do that without him.
It'd be all right. Actually, you won't be all right, but that'll be part of fun.
So do you think we should wait to reappoint folks who are in most of these other positions, or what happens if we delay reappointing these folks? They remain in their roles officially?
In some cases, what we need to do is from this list that goes in the report is pull out sort of what the appointment constructs and terms are. So for example, you don't technically appoint the health officer, deputy health officer, the commissioner of the Department of Health does, you just make a recommendation, and the terms are a little different. So maybe if you're good with this list, we'll update it, add terms, and then highlight for you the ones that are both vacant and or that you need to take action on.
Would you like us to appoint John to that one though?
Yes, mostly because I think it would be fun, but you don't have to do that tonight. It is appropriate to have, because that's where all the spillover is, so I'm not just throwing them under a bus for joy.
And then do we want to appoint the T-Work Commissioner vacancy?
If you know that one of you wants to do that, I would definitely do that one. And we can seek a planning commissioner for the other one.
If you're interested in that, to take it on.
I'm ready for it. Okay, yeah, I would be interested in that. I just know from the planning commission.
Yeah, no, if I had more time,
Yeah.
I would be interested in it. I mean, I am interested in it, and I would do it, except I'm. Yeah, no.
Well, if you decide and you don't, and a planning commissioner doesn't want to do it, there's two of you could, there's nothing that says you can't.
Just let the members should do it.
Be the primary and the alternate, as long as, yeah, we don't somehow appoint a third.
Actually,
So right now we have Chris Sargent, so would we then be, if we had a planning commission member who wished to do this, would we then be removing him from?
Has he been active to you?
I don't know, that's one of the problems with not having somebody who's our appointed person who's not a select board member and not a member of the planning commission, is we don't have any way of really checking in with them and getting feedback from them about what's going on.
Mark who's there on all of their minutes, and it's been a while since we've
Yeah,
ended one.
okay.
Should be remedied. So I think you'd be putting Stephanie into that role, so that would, select board member would be the primary rep, and then you'd look for a planning commissioner to be the alternate. And you can both go to everything, you can swap on and off, you can even sort of track through those attendance records, sort of what other towns do.
That's true, true, like.
Tag team.
Could tag team.
Or is there someone else on the planning commission that would have?
I'm just not sure, I was looking at the planning commission.
Do you want to, should ask them? If anybody there would be interested, and then we can come back to it. We can always.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea.
For the alternate, or?
Yeah, so when you check in with the planning commission about their membership, you can ask them if there's a volunteer to, would be interested in the T-Work rep.
Okay, so otherwise we need a motion to appoint. Is that motion guys appoint me to the T-Work and John to the tract, what did you say? Yeah, but hack, it was the transportation enforcement. John is to the transportation.
The T-Work.
Oh, yeah, it's not, it's not, it was at Queechee, it's Two Rivers Transportation.
Two Rivers out of Queechee Transportation.
Oh, it is.
Out of Queechee Regional Commission Transportation Advisory Committee.
Okay, so I
Get extra credit if you spell out a Queechee in your motion.
I make a motion to appoint Stephanie to the Two Rivers out of Beachy Regional Commission. And appointing John Shanegraw to the Two Rivers Transportation Advisory Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Motion carries 4-0.
Wait, Alice's last name is not capitalized on this list. Sorry. Sorry. Before I post it someplace.
Which page are you on?
Outside appointments, Alex. Okay. Sorry. Can't help myself.
Oh, yeah.
No. Okay.
Did we already go over the delinquent tax collector? I space out.
No, that'd be a good one. I ended up with it in 2021. I will give it up in a heartbeat. I ended up with it in 2021 when Cliff left, because Cliff
right.
had been doing it. And then have held that position ever since. And the only reason that's worked is because Kayla has done most of the foundational work in terms of keeping track, the payment plans and keeping track of those and setting those up is where a lot of the labor is. And then
Who's that typically?
coordinating. Town our size, it's often. If we don't do the treasurer and the clerk because they collect the taxes individually, it's nice to have a separation, so it's often fallen to the. Either the finance director or in other towns, it might be a different individual.
But they're large enough, that's a big enough job.
Yeah, in our case, we don't, the delinquent tax collector isn't paid through a percent. There's a mechanism if you're in a small town to get paid through a percentage of essentially the activity you have, but we don't obviously do that because we have staff, but. So I'm not, so again, I didn't even mention that. That's just in the fly.
It's just never come to my company, I'm like,
So I don't wanna make it seem like I'm pushing in one direction, that somebody's, couple of months in, but that would be, I think, a logical place to set at some point. But, yeah.
So
as of right now, we just leave you as a temporary.
Sure, yeah.
You didn't have to say sure.
we'll revisit that next month. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so for right now, we are just leaving this list as is, because last month we did make the motion to continue everybody until further notice, right? So we're good?
So that's check it, yeah.
I think I made that motion.
I think that's right.
Yeah, so we're going to.
You demand it. So yeah, we'll work to fill that out, and we'll get you some terms on some of these.
We need to do something with the budget committee.
Yeah, and so then we go to.
They were all, they elected in their vacancies, yeah.
We'll pick one now.
Okay, so then we're gonna go to the select board liaisons.
Yep.
Yeah,
so that moves me back to what I was saying before.
Page 3.
And run back around. So I've been the liaison on the planning commissions for a while, and I'd like to continue to do that. And I would also like to continue being the chair of the Water and Wastewater Advisory Committee. And then we have other roles which we will need to fill.
I think you're interested in the economic committee, development committee. And then I just did T-Org. I also on an advisory committee for Gifford, which is not technically for the town, but. I'm in our outreach committee, invited by them.
Yes. Happy with you.
What's that?
Happy with you. I would like to see the rec committee come back, and I would be happy to sit on that. We can get that back in action. I'm happy to hear about your interest in the economic development committee. That'd be my other one I wanted to push, but you can man the rec committee, so.
Two of us can also attend any other meetings without it just being a select board issue, yeah, so, yeah.
You can all attend, there was a law change, like you can all attend a meeting of another body, but you can't discuss or try to take any action, so.
So we can't make comments during.
You can't discuss your business, you can participate in the meeting.
Yeah. Their business, not our business.
It used to be that people would worry about like, well, we've all been invited to the same party, can we go? And so, yes, you can.
Yeah. Just can't make any motions.
Can't.
Demands, no demands while we're there.
Make demands, actually.
So do we need representatives from the select board on some of these other ones that there is not?
So we have
I think
someone on?
in some cases it's functioned fine, like fire service advisory committee, so in that room, you've got chief and assistant chiefs from the 3 fire departments, and then Dave Powell was your representative there, so there's a lot of coverage in those when they meet, and then I've attended at times, yeah, managed good, so if you leave that one vacant, they're still fully capable, yeah. Business, if we get into something thornier about fire services, then you may want to make the appointment and be a more regular presence. Conservation Commission largely functions on its own, so it's more of if it's an area of interest. It's a pretty good group.
We haven't had, I don't think we've had a select board person connected with the Conservation Commission since I've been on the select board.
East Valley, you're just, yeah, I mean, you're on that one to participate in conversations or just stay connected with any of their efforts. The one that I do think one of you should be on is that, like, having somebody at the budget committee. That is prudent.
I forgot Alyssa's not here. I think that she was, wanting to do the energy.
Was she? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Why don't we put that one off then and see if she really wants it and. And he's expressing interest as well.
The energy committee.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're
Yeah.
really talking just really quiet, aren't we?
Yes.
I apologize.
We're all fading.
It sounds like for the revised energy committee, we have potential interest from more than one select board member, so one of them's not here, so I'm saying that perhaps we put that off to a future meeting to decide.
I'm really good interest in that one.
I did, yes.
Yeah, and I don't know how firm Melissa is about that either, so.
Yeah. If she was here, then they could arm wrestle over it, but she's not here, so we can't.
Currently, there's not an energy.
There's
committee,
not an
correct?
energy committee, but it'd be really great if we had.
And there can be two of us there, so it doesn't sound like this is a bad thing.
True.
Yeah, actually both, since it's reviving it, would
Yeah.
be a bad thing for you guys to work in conjunction too.
That's what I said.
That sounds really good to me.
We'll sign Alyssa
Certainly-
up.
Yeah.
It's certainly appoint both of them
Yeah.
tonight, and then if there was so much interest in the energy committee that we needed to make space, we could figure that out
Right.
at a later date.
Well, we're just liaisons anyway, not members.
Well, we can be either one. So with the planning commission is different because it's a regulatory body. And you actually can be on both, it's just not considered good form. But with most of these other committees, it's really fine. And yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah, I think it mostly works well when they have a board member on. Yeah, got a little bit more of a connection. I gotta show up, I'm on the board, I'm on the.
And budget, are you interested in budget?
Meeting once a month,
Yeah.
Probably.
Third Thursday.
third Thursday of the month. I'd have to talk with my family before committing to further monthly commitments. But I am willing to participate in the lengths that I am able to.
How important is it that they're there every time for you? Kind of
Um,
like Stephanie is there a little bit more, or is there more information and stuff? I know there's a big disconnect for a lot of reasons, but.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a lot of like, if we discuss stuff, if we have an issue with something that needs to come back to the select board, you know, if we have a liaison.
Yeah.
You know, rather than having to write a report saying, you know, we have a question about this,
Right,
the liaison can just,
so you could just send Emery, if he was the
Yeah.
person, an email, so he wouldn't have to necessarily be present every time. Or you can zoom on maybe a little bit and.
Are your meetings on Zoom? Do you?
I haven't figured out how to do that yet.
We'll get you there.
Yeah.
Because that might be another option, that'd be easier for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said, what, remind me the date?
It'll be next Thursday,
Third Thursday.
third Thursday.
All right.
And like June, July, we usually don't meet because it's the end of the fiscal year and at that point, there's not much we can do.
Right.
July is just starting
At 5:30?
at 5:30.
It's towards.
For you or the kids?
Both, sometimes.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
It's usually right here.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
We'll just tell your name, so.
Got it.
And you just need one person on that?
I think it's, I was gonna suggest if you don't have one, even rotate through. I think it's that important to have somebody there, especially in this
Are you
moment.
interested?
No. No, but when Emery and I met with the library, we had a tour of the library and some of their trustees were there. It came up that there was a lot of disconnect between they felt out of the loop of the budget, but then they're responsible for the budget. And so I kind of brought up I didn't know if there was any reasons why they couldn't have a liaison from their board of trustees to our budget committee, and I don't even know if they have to hold a particular seat with that, but could they be just have some role where they can attend?
Well, I think they just can attend.
Okay.
Yeah.
They were at our last meeting.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
But should they, one of them be required to be a part of that just to try to help?
This is a statutory weirdness, right?
Yeah.
It would be making sure they're there if there's a library issue. I don't, it's broader than just the library. In terms of what the budget committee looks at, because there's also general
Right.
fund, which has no, the library trustees have no role in. There's highway fund, they have no role in that. There's water, wastewater committee, they don't go to that, like.
Right,
But if there's library fund stuff, that makes perfect sense to have them
so they should just be invited.
there for that,
those
and then anybody
particular
can still, just
Ones,
Yeah.
okay. So that would be our suggestion back to them, is just make sure they're attending if that's.
would be my thought to your advisor.
Yeah.
But also say they're confused about their budget, they should meet with Stephanie too, if they're not understanding how to use their budget. That would be thinking of for questions.
Well, we were just trying to talk about better communication overall amongst all, us and them, and that was a thought, was to help them feel more included in that. But I guess, they can always go.
Yeah, they have their own AP warrants and stuff like that, or can build their own budget. Yeah, it's two different things, yeah.
We could also have select board member who's a liaison to the library. So I just not.
That would be a conflict for me.
Yeah, it might not be Emery.
Could get mad,
Yeah. Might be running out of bodies.
Melissa's not here.
I was gonna say. I know, yes.
Well, we can talk about that next month. though.
That would
Sorry,
be-
I didn't mean
Cause
to-
because that also could be really nice to have that connection, that monthly.
Yeah.
Just like we have with our other committees.
Yeah, the board has their own committee, so there's some weirdness there, but yeah. Okay, so, I think, do we need to motion to approve all those, and do we need them listed?
I got them all in a separate table here, so we'll keep track of them. You could move them, there's no harm in it.
DRB, there's never a liaison. there.
No, and because they're a quasi judicial body and they've got their own different set of regulations and.
Yeah,
But there is a vacancy, so that'll be posted.
and then we need alternates.
I'll always need alternates for the DRB. It's such a good thing to have if you can. In case there's a conflict or an absence or. Small town will have conflicts or. Procedural
Currently,
stuff.
we do.
Yeah, occasionally. So that's where the alternates come in handy there.
So do you need us to list off by name, just motion to approve as presented?
Planning commission is Larry, budget committee is Emery, water wastewater advisory committee is Larry, fire services conservation in East Valley are currently vacant. Recreation advisory committee would be Bethany, energy is a shared Emery and Alyssa. And then you've got economic development committee set.
So move. Motion to approve.
Oh. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries 4-0. So we'll move on to our annual tasks. In order, we have retreat. Trevor is calling roadshow, which I like.
Yeah.
And actually says community assignments, we did that one.
Yes, thinking, yeah, okay.
And we've got,
So just some of the action items with the annual retreat workshop, do you want to do one? And then if you do, designate a member to work with us on the structure. And if you want to have a conversation about some of the stuff you want to carry forward into that, we can do that here, but it might be what you do is designate the member, we come up with a suggested sort of agenda or at least structure for it, and then you help fill in the topics, and that might shape sort of the what and the how from there, but give you a little bit of structure. So we can also talk about, do you want it facilitated or not, by whom, maybe offsite.
This has happened in the past, so what did it look like?
Yeah, we've done it as part of regular meetings. We did one on a Saturday morning, I think, one time too, to try to get outside. And they've been general conversations and board members might bring topics. I think we brought from a staff level, like a set of prompts, just in terms of, do you want to consider this, that, or the other? Do you want to, set budget targets or whatever it might be, or talk about service levels with regards to this particular thing?
It's not something we've done regularly. I think we've done this twice since I've been on the select board. It's a
Once and
once,
put it out.
we did it once years ago.
And I think there's sort of two potential targets to consider whether or not you want to try to aim at. One is as part of a larger sort of vision setting process, goal setting process. Even if it's just how you're gonna get to defining those things. And the other one is an element of make sure you got the strongest structure you could have for how you work together, especially if there's moments of disagreement and you move forward for them, like what your board dynamic is as well. With enough turnover and new folks, if you can set that on the front end as a set of its own set of expectations reinforced by the rules of procedure, which are about meeting conduct. Those are often where you see retreats fall. They get scheduled differently depending on the board and the timing. I've seen them be these peaceful sort of vision setting annual processes where everybody's most interested in the food that's there. And they're still productive and they're good. And I've seen them when people have scheduled them and it's kind of already too late and things are in need of some kind of assistance in terms of how do you manage dynamics. I think you're in a good spot to frame both of those and maybe have some good food.
Good food, I was gonna say with them.
So I think it's kind of a nice moment to be doing this.
So you're thinking having one of us work with you and staff to.
Yeah. And part of that is so that we make sure that at some level, the board perspective is the one that's front and center with it. And then, in my role, I'm just trying to figure out what do you need to get where you want to go and make recommendations on structure. I think having a facilitator who's different helps, because when we've done it before, as your staffer, helps get you in and out of conversations and stuff like that. It's just a different way for you guys to
Is that something like BLCT, like the training or something like that? Is that like, would you find someone else or would you?
We could ask to see who they've got. We could ask to see who they got. Sometimes it's a different subset of consultants or professionals that you have that might do that. I did one 100 years ago for another town, the administrator asked me to come down and do it. But that was a lot closer to my league days and league training, so that was a more normal. Task, like 14 or something, it was a long time.
So some type of leadership person sort of thing to come in.
Yeah.
We're training. There's a lot of, I've got a lot of like, the women entrepreneurs and there's, getting together. There's a lot of leadership ones out there.
Yeah.
And a lot of them that are focused on women leadership, but there's other ones too, yeah.
And they also help with the structure too, and it's a nice thing about that is they get you say we want to work on or do these things, then they help you figure out how to shape it. And they can make sure it leads you through that.
I would say it probably makes sense for Larry or I to be the
Could be.
person to kind of help.
Two of you too, like I wrote one just for. I was gonna say to save letters type, but 1 and 2 are the same. I say that, I can do that.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
So the two, okay, cool.
That's not in May.
It's not in May.
I won't be able to.
You're looking at the June.
I don't know, not till after Father's Day.
Not in May, but before Father's Day.
No, after.
After?
So
Oh.
anything after graduation.
So late June.
Yeah.
Second half of June.
Yeah, I get my life back after that.
It's okay.
Sports school.
It's just, that sounds good. And then the road show, that's Trevor's way of talking about this idea that I had, which was that the town has all these properties all over the town, and as new select board members, or even like I still haven't been to all the town properties. So sometimes we talk about stuff and it'd be really nice to you know, I've been there to say, oh yeah, I know, I've been there, I know what that's like, and, so that's the first piece is just having a basic familiarity with the infrastructure of the town. And then the other piece is the people part, which is that over time, you know, just by being around, you tend to, you know, get to know a lot of the folks who work for the town, but, it'd be nice to have a bit more attention kind of go around and meet as many of the employees as we reasonably can in a short period of time, and just so you have names and faces and make introductions and have that in place as well. And so,
I mean, the names and faces thing might be easier to do, like, last year you guys had a gathering of the employees for around the holidays or something, and kind of have like maybe coffee or something one morning. Instead of trying to go to their work and.
oh, yeah, we could do
like,
that, but
okay,
like,
yeah.
like in terms of like, during
Well,
our
yeah.
roadshow, we'll go to the wastewater treatment plant, so when we visit there, like that's someplace that we would absolutely all wanna see. And
Sure,
so
yeah.
we could, you know, we would get to know Chris and hopefully one or two of the people he works with there.
I'm just thinking like,
Yeah,
those
no,
guys
we
are
wouldn't-
not always
yeah,
there
no,
and stuff.
it wouldn't be possible certainly to connect with everybody on that day, but whoever we could have connect with while we're making the rounds would be good.
We try to, borrow one of the school buses that live in the Randolph Center garage and see if we have a couple of guys that could drive them, and maybe we do it that way. So steal a page, when you mentioned the idea, it reminded me of the old Berrytown budget tour, they called it, and it would, in that case, it was a Saturday. And it was the same thing, as you set up the sites, and in that example, it tied to specific budgets or budget priorities. You could look at, different things that posed within that year, whereas this is a little more generalized, but we would take a bus and go site to site, and there was kind of an agenda, and we'll try to be here at this point. And because it's still a public meeting, so that way folks can ride on the bus with us, or they can try to meet us at sites.
You've ridden on a bus recently?
Yeah, and
Just a smaller bus.
I'll follow you in a different vehicle.
Well, I'll follow bus.
Or we can carpool, like there's different ways we could structure it. And especially if we wanna see, like, I think it would be good. And you definitely see the water wastewater plant, see the highway garage, see the police station, go to the rec buildings, pool building, maybe even down into the pool operating picks. I think that's when we start to talk about replacement, that's gonna be an important picture. North Wales, those types of things. So that's where the bus might not be the greatest idea to get up there, but that new tank in Well House and all of those things that are, which folks should really take a look at if they can. But yes, we'll try to structure it so that you move from site to site and we catch a few people at each one.
Fire stations,
Fire
garage,
stations, yeah.
landfill.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We won't be able to do all of it, so we'll have to make some decisions, but
Yeah.
as many of them, as many as we can get in.
Twice, like do one now and one in the fall or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. We could do another one.
I mean, I'd like to see all that before we go into budget season, so.
Yeah. Yeah, and some of it would also be like, we might not do sort of village and Randolph Center garages, it might just be we do the center, because that's where everybody works out of, that's where the bus barn is, that's where the mechanics bay is, it's where most of the stuff is. Salt, sand storage, all of those pieces.
I know where some of these are. I mean, like, I would like to actually
Yeah.
know where they are.
Do a fancy little map, and
Yeah.
make
If
like
we
a
don't-
passport and collect stickers when.
Right, yeah, we can sticker. If we don't all go at once, would that make it easier? Cause then like if we were split up and not all in the same place? Or is it harder? Cause then everybody's gotta come up.
Yeah, I don't think we need to know this stuff too much now.
Yeah. It's one time.
Yeah.
Oh, no, but it's good for everybody, I think. At a staff level too. I mean, it's nice to have people come to you, see what you do. There's a nice sign of appreciation in a way, and they might tell you that it's not important, but it is. And then that's an actual fly, not
It
like
is.
a floater.
No, it's
That's
not,
written.
it's not yet.
It's track, I gotta pay
Just
attention.
appreciating,
Yeah. But it's also nice for them, I think, from the manager's perspective, I want them to practice talking to you all more regularly. I mean, honestly, to get them into that mode, I think it's important to have that. So when we have a topic and you need a subject matter expert in the room, that comfortable coming in here.
They know we're not scary.
Yeah, or they know how scary you are, and they take the appropriate measures, yeah.
When we did FEMA, I went out with Mark and John, it was blast, it's not fun. Yeah, it was so fun, it was fun, John was like so like nervous, and then by the end of the day, we were both fun, so it was nice, yeah, it was fun.
It always starts very nervous.
Is this something that we
I was gonna say, when we meet with Trevor about the
can help them
original,
out?
we can talk about that as well.
Yeah, this is getting to be a lot of work for our town, and we can help organize that a little bit. Okay, it's committee assignment, done.
Mason's done, meeting recap. Is that, that's.
Yes.
We do it every year. You can do it tonight, you could schedule it later. I mean, some of the things were written down in the moment, takeaways, things to make sure in the annual report, ways to present information. I would recommend some kind of working with a moderator, so there's a little more structure on how budgets in particular are presented. Maybe there's an opportunity to do something to, they started off to say, here's an overview, here's what's proposed, up, down, why. And then the questions kind of come after that. So there's at least some level of, this is what the proposal is, and now let's talk about what that proposal is. And it might also help things move in a linear fashion, which would be kind of nice.
Yeah.
We're talking about the town meeting again.
Yeah. But yeah, some of the things Stephanie's been working to update debt service tables, we'll be able to translate that in there. Different other budget documents, try to expand those out, narratives, reports. So all those things were noted.
Yeah, I mean, some of it was just shortage of staff too, and I was kind of impressed that people actually read it, honestly, like, so I was like, where's this? And I'm like, you actually read through that? Like, it was nice to hear that.
Well, I think it's nice that Judy spends time putting this thing together
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah.
Let's make the most of it, make sure it's something people
Yeah, no, I
do
think.
take the time to read, because there's a lot of effort that goes into that.
Yeah, but no, it was really well done too, Judy, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't think I had anything to add about timing, it feels like 2 years ago.
It's a little more valuable as a conversation when there's recency, but you never know what sticks.
Okay.
And, I'm looking at the clock and wondering if we should skip rules of procedure for the moment, go through these other things which are important and much quicker, and then see what time it is. And see what we think.
Because one of the things you can do with those, if you want, in the in-between, if you send to me individually any feedback you got, I can stitch together a draft for you for next time, so we stay on the same general timeline. And then you'll just review, you'll have all of this background stuff, but then you can review.
Even for rules of procedure.
Yeah, that might be a way to even keep it moving, but move through your agenda.
I see what you're saying. Instead of having a discussion tonight and then have like a motion and a decision at next meeting. Instead, just have us all do some homework and
Do we
see
wanna-
what we could come up with.
Do we wanna talk about generally, like, what our thoughts are though, like, about, like, how much detail or not, or much? Some of these are kind of like, do we want to have like an 8-page rule of procedure, or like?
I'll build you the bigger one, because it's easier to edit down than up. And you could say, we don't want the section on minutes because we've got to comply with statute. I mean, that would be one, I think that might be easy to.
I mean, how much of it can we kind of do? How much editing can we do offline? Like, well, I think becomes a discussion.
Right, well, no, it's more, provide the feedback, I'll create a draft that's a little bigger.
I see. So we wouldn't have a discussion, we would just each individually say, I think this part's important. I don't think that part's important, and then you can go through all our comments and then use that to whittle down the proposal.
And then I'll even point out, I took this out because all 5 of you sent me notes that said you don't want this part. So if you see this is missing, but you saw it in the model rules or whatever, this is why it's not in this draft kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess my only feedback on that, I guess we're opening up the conversation, but okay, sorry. I just feel like we could
Let's at least try to keep it short.
Yeah, I think we
Once
should
we
look at-
get into a longer conversation, we'll.
Yeah. Like, I think like instead of like having this huge draft of cut, I mean, like, basically our old procedure, like it has the clerk and the vice chair, it wasn't in existence when this was written, so that needs to be corrected. I think otherwise, I mean, we have to abide by open meeting law. And so kind of, we really need as much written about that. So I just feel like a short and sweet one is easier. That's one of the big things, and then maybe a little bit more clarification about what public comment is and how to handle that. Yeah, instead of like trying to create this new document, I think just kind of like, what are the things at this one that we don't like might be a better conversation.
If you send me everything or anything that you want, I'll try to stitch something together.
Okay.
And then you'll still, just for anybody listening, just to reiterate, like, I'm gonna stitch together, you'll beat it up, figure out what you want.
Yeah, yeah.
You are not adopting my rules of procedure, please.
Yes, yes, you're just our editor in chief for the moment.
There you go.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay. Here does the software RFP for the realtor.
This one could be as simple as if you authorize us to an RFP, Stephanie put together a draft, and we'll put together one that stitches together all the history and seek a realtor, and so then the next time we come in here, you can select one to handle the purchase of that property.
Yeah, you may have issues with the property because a lot of it on the other side of the road was washed away in Irene. So the map's showing stuff that isn't there anymore.
Yeah, our realtor would probably take care of making sure it's properly located.
Yeah. Sell the air rights too.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was that?
Does
What-
everybody know, do you know what this is about, right?
The Boy Scout?
Boy Scout.
Yes, I do.
And then, the appraisal for that you pulled up, Trevor, is that, when did Bethel last do their appraisal? I just realized it.
That's an older one. The tax bill that's in the agenda notes is based on the last bill we got, so for the current fiscal year.
Does it say in there, the
85,
appraisal
80.
back? Yeah, but what year was the appraisal for? I guess that had.
Oh, I don't know when Bethel, yeah, that'd be a
Yeah.
good question.
Last year.
Was
It
it
was last year, okay. And I mean, this is all stuff that a realtor is gonna take care of, so I think the whole point is like, we wanna hire a realtor. We need RFP to do that, and then all those weird details will be
That's
put together for the listing. That would be the realtor's job, I think, right?
yeah. So there's just, I'll do a little screen share.
We know the condition of whatever structure is there.
There's a little lodge or house or whatever you want to call it, not really shack, I guess, be a better word for it.
Off-grid camp,
What?
off-grid.
Yeah, it's off grid. There's no running water. There's an outhouse. There was a bunch of mattresses and such up in the attic. I'm sure the mice have taken care of all them by now. And then there's, at least there was, when the scouts were using it, shelters scattered around that, like made of brush and stuff. I don't know if they're still there or not.
Thank you.
There's a fire pit.
Yep, so just so everybody has, I think everybody knows where, so here we are, we're about here. Randolph's up here, so Gilead Brook Road down here.
Yeah, you're way in the back.
Yep, and then. Ken was talking about, oops, where'd it go? The structure, I don't know that you can really see it on this is an older aerial image, but. Gives you a sense of the property of the two sides. Here in this little, I think that's the little structure, right, Ken, right there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So most of it's undeveloped.
Yeah, and most of what's on the left side there isn't there anymore.
This spot right here, Ken? Right
Yeah.
here? Yeah. You can see the waterway over there.
Yeah. And it's got like a porch, like a camp with a porch on it. And there might be quite a bit of stuff still stored out there. Some old coal boxes and that sort of thing that are still out there.
Known as last used when?
Yeah, the troop dissolved, I think in 2012, somewhere in there. So. Before that.
Yeah, 2018 was a vote to sell. That was with some of the restrictions on sale that are included in.
Yeah.
And that was after a long process of determining that we could actually sell it. It's a multi-year process.
So when we agree to, or when, if there's finally an offer, do we then have to hold a special town meeting for the town to approve it, or have we moved past that?
I think we're past that. We have approval from the town to sell the property. Great, yeah. We're in good shape.
Motion to hire.
Motion to authorize the RFP for a Realtor.
So moved.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Grants. Road erosion inventory reassessment.
These are those grants that are grants in name because that's the delivery vehicle, but are really annual or regular state aid to municipalities. So just when you think of them, yes, they're grants, they're reimbursable, but they add another vehicle, I think they figure out how to buy these two. So these two are tied together. Every, I think it's at least 5 years, I forget the exact whole tenure, where you've got to do a road erosion inventory. And so what this is, it looks primarily, look at all roads, but gravel roads in particular. Tries to see areas where there might be issues with any kind of stormwater issues. This is about water quality and as well as road construction, road quality. So ditching, crowning, culverts, you know, where they're undersized, where they might fail. We do culvert inventories too. And then what we get is a pretty map with color-coded segments of our roads. Green means we're good, we're in compliance with the right state standards. Yellow means there's some work to be done, and then the red ones are the ones that we want to try to focus on. So what this first one would do is we would work with Two Rivers Ottacleachie, with Rita, who did our sidewalk study, does a lot of these, a lot of the grants and aid stuff. We'll lead this one. They often have to bring in interns. We have 624 segments, I think it was, to inventory, so it takes a little bit to get out there, and they'll do right down to GPS points and all those things. And then that'll update us well in advance of the 2027 timeline. And then what we use the road erosion inventory for is the second piece. These are the annual grants and aid projects that we do. So what they're for is for improving roads where there's this water quality, road quality nexus. So we've talked about some sections on Hebert Hill where there's a need for ditching or improved ditching, crowning, culvert replacement. You'll see one of the only changes to note on the item after it is all culverts now have to be a minimum of 18 inches. We've been doing that anyway, because anything less than that is a recipe for failure in an event. But these things all tie together. So we'll do that. And often these projects we'll do with our own labor. We might purchase material and then we can make our matches through either cash or in kind. A lot of times we've done in kind. We've used these grants to fund the majority of a project before. We've also used them to fund a portion of it. So all that stuff we did on Ferris Road, if you haven't, there's some good before and after photos, but that was a longer section that we did. We used grants and aid payment. We also used the gravel road reserve to sort of fund the rest of that. Did a full, there was a widening, there was an improvement in the road surface, grounds got added, ditches got both widened, one a U shape, the parabola rather than the V.
I can attest, it's been amazing.
Yeah.
The flower
That happened on our, yeah, it happened on our.
Sink it slow, it spread it, or the sort of the stormwater guidelines. And so it does that stone line when there's a need to. So these two things work in concert. One updates the backbone that we use to inform the projects on the other. And then both cases we're working with Two Rivers, Rita in particular, so.
Motion to approve grants.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Up is the certificate of compliance for the road and bridge standards.
Yep, so we are still compliant. We're in the process of doing our update. And at some point we should look at our own localized road standards. But we rely on the state approved standards for any questions, any spaces in between. And then we've got the different efficiency metrics. Some of the, culvert inventories also include the smaller bridges. The state does a lot of the longer bridges. Question from. Oh. Sorry, we all get distracted by the comments. Those are all things we can. Okay. About posting to YouTube. That's good. Anyway. So we're in compliance, and then the other thing that I added, I can put it up on the screen if you want, actually. Once we have it. Every year we gotta do this TA60. This one bothers me as much as any piece of bureaucracy ever, only because it is the one thing to count these things in methods that nobody counts them in, so then you have to go back through and redo everything to fit this metric. But you'll see up top is the revenue section. These are our different state highway aid eligible roads. So class 1 would be Main Street, sections of Park and Central, where it's also state highway, but we are primarily responsible for the maintenance. Class 2 are, I think, roads like Beanville, for example, East Bethel Road, and then class 3 are the bulk of all the other roads. So that's everything from Maple and Highland to Salt Box probably would be in there. So it doesn't have to, they don't necessarily follow paved gravel distinctly. It's about what's the function, what part of the network are they? Do they connect to other municipalities or major connection points? But we are paid based on a rate per mile set by the legislature. See the reference in statute. So these were the FY25 numbers that we got in. Obviously, town highway aid doesn't survive the legislative session intact. This could require us to take some management actions. Town tax funds are the remainder. After you subtract you add this and this and subtract it from the total budget, you get what we raised by taxes. And then we have to break it down into winter and non-winter maintenance categories. When you look at our budget, we don't break them down based on season. There are different sort of categories for them. There's kind of general supplies, repairs, and maintenance. There's also a section for the mechanic that's broken out. That's got some expenses that could be considered winter or partially winter. So we go through. What I usually try to do is first you take the categories that are clearly winter, so road salt, winter sand, and then you take the ones that are shared, so labor costs, fuel costs, and try to figure out, we have about a 5-month winter period when you think of November to April. That's when the winter parking ban's on, so that's what we use. Say as a percent of the year. Carry across, we get those, and then always in here, we just note everything else that's going on, how we came up with the different numbers, and then it says major construction projects. We don't have any independent ones, and the ones we do have, we pay for through the mixture of grants and reserve funds. So they're not in our annual financial plan in the same way that others expect. So you have to adopt this as a legislative body, or we don't get our money.
Motion to approve.
So to prove the TA60 and the certification of compliance, correct?
Yeah, motion to approve those.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Because it's late, maybe we leave it as the LEMP. It used to be in May that we had to readopt. It's now in June. We made some changes last year. Scott and John have taken sort of primary roles in that, and that was following the flood of 23 when we saw how folks responded and who was pretty critical on that. And we had some turnover in the emergency management coordinator and director's role, and Wayne Warner, who'd done it for a while, stepped away from it. And so same overall structure, but we'll go back through it. Talk to different points, trying to bolster any areas that we remember from the 2023 experience that may be specific to that type of event. But the LAPs are more, we try to be all hazard events, even though most of our hazards are water related problem. So But it's where we designate shelters, points of contact, so we'll have to go through and update all those, but wanted to put it in front of you so you get used to looking at it. So that when we get to June, we can adopt it, and that's when there'll be a test, and we'll have to answer how many copies we have. 12. Bureau, we get it from the Red Cross.
Actually, was up at the shelter, BFTC during the flood.
Yeah, that's right.
I did, I got up and played cards, one lady that was up there, I went to dinner with her, it was fun.
That was one of the changes last year, is we designated the facilities at VTC as a shelter, where it's been the village fire station for a while, but what this does is provide us some separation from the emergency operations center, which is there, and shelter there.
Yeah, I think BTS is for BTSU, Randolph campus would be, is great.
Does there ever have to be a backup one though, like in case the bridge wasn't passable or, you know, like, so thered be one thing on the side of the bridge versus something?
Town hall's been always here, yeah, I think, and then there's higher ups too, that can make calls too. There's different towns and like, so they activate these emergency shelters all over the place, and so if you got cut off from your town, you could go to like Bethel, for example, yeah.
And it could be, even though there are some different emergency provisions for you all to make decisions, so in terms of how we can get into a meeting, get you to make a decision, do a mixture of what we can pull together, what we need to do remote, and then you can designate the shelter as part of that process in response.
Yeah, like in that case, like you were in Montpelier.
Yep.
So,
With one bridge
yeah, yeah.
available.
That was crazy.
That bounced when you were on it, car, which was fun.
I'm sorry you know that. Yeah. But yeah, so then a backup person usually in a chair.
It's one of those things we don't think about it till we need it, and then when we need it, we really need it. Yeah. You had, I wrote it down, you wanted me to touch on pension bill and progress there, so the come up during public comment, H519, I think if I got the number right.
Thank you for remembering that.
Yeah.
That's a damn time ago.
It is currently in the Senate Finance Committee, so it made it all the way through the House. This would basically, in the simplest terms, this would let us put our level 2, our sworn officers only, so it's not all personnel. So level 2 certified or above, and that's everybody we have, they're generally level 3 levels of certification, into the state employees retirement system that's lettered as G. The reason that's important is because it's for public safety personnel and provides an option for folks to retire with full pensions provided they put in, and it's proportionate to, you have to do at least 5 years to vest. And then the level depends on how many years of service, but you can retire with that full pension at 55. Because we're in VSERS G, which is a general retirement pool, because the town of Randolph chose to go into VSERS along with Bethel and Danville, however long ago that was, decades, you don't have that option. So it's at least sort of this 30 years, or you've got to have a calculation of years of service and age and all of it. We're the only law enforcement entity in the state without that ability. So when we come to recruitment and retention, we can't even compete on, we literally can't compete on the level everyone else can compete on with that particular topic. There is no increased cost to us. It does cost the employees more in terms of the contribution they'll have to make, but there's an opt-in in the bill. So everybody by January 1 of next year, if this all passes and goes in place, will have to say, I'm going to stay. I'm going to opt in to the settlement. So it made it through the House. We started this process last year. We looked at everything from the municipal system to VSERS C, which is where the state police are, and a handful of others. Generally is a program with big, bright electrified rails around it in terms of how you get into it. And there's different things from the calculations of benefit to political considerations with that one. So this puts us on par. So it goes to Senate Finance if it makes it out of there, which it should. We might have another stop in Senate Appropriations, which matches its path in the House, and then that's the final piece for legislative action. Then it would be up to the governor to sign it. And all indications, everybody's in alignment that this does. The bill also grabs Bethel and Danville, so they have the option as well, though neither has law enforcement, but if they formed it, they
ever did, they'd have it.
Yeah.
you know, it's a suggestion from the treasurer's office that it's not just Randolph, that we also there's other communities that are in the same spot.
And each year there's been reach out to them so they know what it is, and they said, yeah, we support the move, we're good with it, so it's.
And so Trini, as a select board member, appeared in the House Gov Ops committee, and maybe a couple of the, I'm not sure if she testified in the other committees or not, on the House side, to talk about why we needed this. And Trevor did as well, and then more recently, she appeared in the Senate, on the Senate side, in the Gov Ops committee, and that was, I believe that was after she was done being on the select board. And so, but she wasn't participating in that role as a select board member, but just as someone who knows a lot about the way this all has unfolded in Randolph and could give them accurate information about what's going on here.
When I was slated to do that one, Brooke was in that express care. To determine whether or not I tore something like
other report stuff we ought to know about.
The Zoom waiting room had come up, and I just made a note. I think our use of that ties back to the COVID era adoption of the technology, and there was a slate of Zoom bombings and other sort of unwelcome. So everybody was recommended that when you set it up, you set up a waiting room so you could let people in and have better controls. We haven't had this issue in a long time. We could revisit that, but that's sort of, I just have to think of it. That's how a lot of the municipalities landed on that as a how you enter sort of protocol. I think it's just been in place.
That's pretty standard
since,
for all sorts of organizations to run that way, but we could certainly try just having people join and see how it goes.
The legislature has had some horror stories for sure of people coming in and in illegal ways. And unpleasant, and there was a lot of nudity, let's say that. So I would caution a little bit about that, but
I mean, we're letting people in that with an anonymous name, so how do we know who they are anyways?
yeah, that's fair.
You know, that's the thing.
But like, but
We're not as big a target as the website. I mean,
just send this out. But
just to be honest, I mean,
if we don't have the weight room, can we kick people out though?
we can still kick people out.
I believe so,
Yeah.
Because you kicked me out that one time. Like a different thing.
So,
And,
so I think we try it, and if it gets to the point where we have to kick people out on a regular basis or something truly horrible happens, because having that ease of public access, I think, would be really nice to have, unless we have some really good reason to not have it.
we would have to, before we do that, track everybody who uses the owl in the system. If we take that off. Because they, like the Board of Abatement, DRB, like everybody who uses this equipment and the computer, if we take, because it's the same link all the time, right?
Yeah.
Not for everyone, no. And I almost think when you schedule the meeting, you can choose whether there's a waiting room or not.
I think that's the.
I'm pretty sure.
So I think we're gonna do this, it has to be across the board. Boards.
That's the boards.
Who manages this part in those other
chairs, basically.
the chair?
Or it could be, if they're staffed, it might be staffed, so.
Usually finds out how to do it. And like, yeah.
So Tammy did BOA the other
Yeah.
Alex will do planning commission.
And sometimes if like Trevor's been remote, someone else staff's already in there, so.
It is a lot on this one person, I feel like, to be monitoring all those things, and like even over here, that's so far away, I can hardly see what's on that. So yeah, it's tricky to.
So just a few other quick ones, the Salisbury Square grant, I think there was a plan to do the first requisition as early as tomorrow, but that plan is not gonna come to pass because of issues with the sufficiency of information provided by the entity, I think might be the way to summarize. That's what it was the other day.
No, there was a meeting yesterday afternoon in the state.
So there was another one.
More information was submitted by RACDC and the state was looking at it, so we'll know tomorrow whether or not
Gotcha.
we can actually push the button on that first requisition.
So the state's gonna kind of review that, give you the clearance that all the things are there or the reassurance?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that earlier in the week, it was not clear that the documentation is fully there.
What happens if we aren't getting the documentation from RFPDC? At what point can we change this agreement?
They don't get any money, so it becomes a problem for them more than for us.
And the state has an interest in, they've been reviewing since the beginning of the week. So that was yesterday's, this is what else we need, and they needed time today to review what the additional information we'll know tomorrow.
And RFPDC's voted to dissolve by June now, right? So what happens if they dissolve and we don't have the information? What's that one? Who's getting that?
Those vendors wouldn't get paid.
And then
Or construction loans would be serviced. I think this, as Stephanie said, the state is gonna make sure that with the primary construction vendor and the VHFA loan, I think they'll make sure.
And those are still expected to be the only two requisitions. It's just getting those in and through in the way the state needs them.
Oh, goodness.
Uh,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
To Stephanie and Trevor for taking that on, and Mark, I'm sure as well.
Yeah, Mark's been doing a lot of it, last week, rallying.
So we are gonna need a single audit because of FEMA funds, so that'll just be a tack on.
This is for FY 25.
Yep, for 25. We're probably gonna need one for 26, I would think too, especially if it's passed
Especially,
through.
yeah, if we are able to draw in the North Wells money early in the fiscal year.
Street sweeping, starting ongoing, it's that time of year. And then eventually we get asked a lot about crosswalk painting, stop bars, stencils are in, paint's in. It's about having the pavement surface be warm enough for this all to work as well as possible. So as soon as that comes into play,
There's some pothole patching.
pothole patching, yeah, pavement plants will reopen. This was a good year for potholes all over the place.
There's a few right here, it's still better.
This was a really. Potholes were probably a little on the more problematic end, but mud season is generally. Yeah. When used in the dull roads. Some of that's weather combinations, some of that is work that's been done in prior years, some of it's technique that they use a little bit, so. We're a far cry from that first mud season I was here that statewide got described as biblical. It seemed like everything had fallen apart and was covered in mud. So this was.
Sorry.
Oh, no, no.
I was jumping back. Is the street sweeper already scheduled?
I think they've even had it out a little bit, went through the maintenance, yeah. And so we'll try to usually schedule that and provide some notice. We'll schedule it, for those early morning hours. So it's a little disruptive when it goes by your house at not very fast. 3, 4 in the morning, but it's how we make sure it's as clear as obstacles as you can get it. If we can do it at different times, we'll try, like side streets might be okay during the day.
And if one were interested in cleaning off the sidewalks, they could move the dirt into the street before the sweeper.
Yeah, but I'd suggest just calling or emailing John, seeing, hey, are you gonna be out with the sweeper, and see if they can get as close together as possible, so it doesn't end up in the catch basins or the stormwater drains or anything like that.
That makes sense.
Yeah. If it sits and then all washes in there, we gotta get Chris to come out we gotta get a Vector and go through a whole different.
Yikes.
Is that something that people are made aware of when that's gonna happen for like that very reason it's posted?
Yeah, we've been trying to, because we did get some complaints of what the heck is this at 3 in the morning, and.
I mean, you know what it is.
Well, it's more like what everybody.
When you've
like,
been
if
fighting to
you're
get
gonna
a
push something
toddler
out.
down and the toddler pops up
Yeah.
because the street sweeper's going by, you can get a little feisty.
Yeah, I get it. It's also like, it's this thing, it's a snow plows and all the way, the train. And I get it. It's annoying, but. Well, anything else from the manager's report?
I don't think so.
Dustin has his name.
Yeah, I think he had my name in it.
Thank you. Sorry. Trying to use my hand because I was behind on this. I just have a small clarification. I think, nothing crazy, but I think, Trevor, you said that bill was to get our cops into Group C. It's to get them into Group G. They changed the bill at some point, so it's Group G. But on the newest version I can find, the statement of purpose still says Group C for some reason, but the rest of the bill is all Group G. The only difference I know of is the mandatory requirement, retirement age isn't a thing for Group G. That's all.
Right, so what I said was this would get them into Group G. We had at one point tried to get into Group C. The bill was originally filed as Group C. After working with the treasurer's office, we got into Group G where there's other law enforcement, which enables retirement at 55, but doesn't mandate it, which is what Group C does for state troopers and other people in that pool, DMV officers.
And that may cross over, so it's official.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's already leaking to the Senate.
Right, yeah, yeah.
The end of the light, the end of the tunnel is,
Yeah.
is coming. Get that done.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Alright, exactly.
Yep.
So read out what we need to say.
So you have 3 topics. These are 2 motion topics as required in Title I. The first one is the finding that it's necessary and prudent and that premature general public knowledge will place the town at a disadvantage.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Motion to enter executive session.
Pursuant to 1 VSA 313A1A, contracts, 1 VSA 313A1E, legal pending probable litigation, 1 VSA 313A3 for personnel/employment.
So moved.
And do we need to invite Trevor?
You do. That would be a good one to add.
Inviting Trevor.